can't find me. You may never want to find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is what day is it now? It just feels like a blur to me. It's Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
I think it was the Labor Day weekend that knocked everything out of a loop. Because I was like, okay, what day is it now? But no, it's Tuesday, and we are here for episode 14 of the Barroom Podcast. We've made it 14 episodes in. We're getting up there in numbers, people.
Yep, and I haven't received any death threats, so that's wonderful.
I think a couple more episodes, and we'll be old enough to date Leonardo DiCaprio. So I mean, there you go.
I think I'm already past his age range.
Oh no, you're ancient compared to what his needs are. You know, he should be nothing past the 24. That's where he cuts off. But we're here for another episode here of the Barroom Podcast, and I got some good guests with me here tonight. I got the writer herself, C.S. Johnson. How you doing tonight?
Yay, I'm good.
We got Colt Classic Cage over there, who I don't know if that's a Jets hat that she wore last night, or that's a different
It
hat,
is. It's backwards this time.
Okay, making sure.
Gotta switch it up, bro.
Yeah, but the Boba Fett shirt, outside of the jaw shirt you were rocking last night.
Yeah, and this is not from the TV show. I got this way before, like multiple years ago.
Yeah, and then of course the best dressed guy on the podcast tonight is Mr. Rob Motto. How you doing tonight?
Good. Yeah, I just got home from work not too long ago, so I'm still wearing my my civilian clothes.
Mm-hmm. You're getting paid clothes, as they would call them. And of course, we do have our good buddy in the chat tonight, Mr. Duke Nukem, who's been patiently waiting for us to start the show. I don't know if he has his laptop on a different language or whatnot, but I'm just going to assume that those are good things and basically say, hey, how you guys doing, everyone? So with that said, we got a lot to talk about tonight. So I want to start this one off pretty hot. Obviously, Johnson and Rob are what we like to call normies in the world of pro wrestling. But obviously, me and Cassie know a little bit more about this one. And this has pretty much been the story that's dominated the world of pro wrestling for the last couple of days now. And it's good old CM Punk. Now, if you don't know who CM Punk is, he was a guy who was popular in WWE over a decade ago. He dropped a little promo that propelled him to superstardom. He was a big star for a couple of years, and then he quit because he was perpetually unhappy, blamed everyone else for his problems, and then here we are once again. It took him 7 years to re-sign with a pro wrestling company, and he came back last year to AEW. Everyone was talking about how big of a turning point it was for AEW, that they were going to be on the up and up. Well, here we are a year later, and the honeymoon period is absolutely over because something happened last Saturday and Sunday night after one of their pay-per-views. Their biggest pay-per-view of the year, I believe, is All Out. Is that once CM Punk regained the world title on the show, he went and did a little press conference, and unscriptedly, because everyone thinks that everything in the world of pro wrestling is a work, but unscriptedly, he went out and pretty much buried everyone in the entire AEW locker room to the point where there was fights that happened right after the fact. There's now talks of legal issues, people suing people. I haven't heard anything about the police getting involved, but I wouldn't be surprised if that would happen next. But let's just go ahead and play you some of the comments that were made last Saturday night, which started this whole thing. This was Punk pretty upset because there's a lot of talk about an old friend of his, and I'll give you guys a little bit of context, but I'll play the video here and let you see essentially what caused all the trouble this last. So let me just stop it right there for a second. I know you guys are listening to this, and you're thinking, who the hell is he talking about? Well, Scott Colton is the real name of a wrestler called correct me if I'm wrong.
Cabana.
I know it was right on the top of my head, and for some reason I got it because I just had the names mixed up. But yeah, Colt Cabana. So what happened here is that several years ago when Punk quit WWE, he did his old friend Colt Cabana's podcast to talk about the circumstances that led to his release from the company. And what happened was that he made some allegations against WWE saying that their reckless medical policy almost killed him, which led to WWE suing them, right? Now, ultimately, CM Punk won the lawsuit. However, there was legal fees that was disputed between him and Colt Cabana that ended up ending their friendship and for a number of years. So these guys haven't talked for years. Colt Cabana was one of the first few people signed with AEW when the company first started, and he was a pretty popular character when he was on there. But obviously, when they signed Punk last year, that caused a lot of friction because him and Punk hadn't spoken since the fallout of the podcast. Now, a lot of people in the locker room are friends with Colt Cabana, and they obviously rather favor him over CM Punk. So CM Punk got fed up with the fact that people kept accusing him of removing Cabana from the show, the fact that he wasn't around anymore. There was a lot of secondhand hate that was going towards his direction that he got fed up with. And he decided that after during the press conference, one of their biggest shows of the year, that he was going to essentially address these rumors by throwing everyone under the bus. Now, he mentioned a little note here about the EVPs, which, if you don't know, is Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, who serve as both wrestlers and executive vice presidents for the company. And he's basically blaming them for the one starting these rumors and then letting them flow around the wrestling sphere here. Then he also goes on to throw another wrestler under the bus, which I'll go ahead and finish this clip here, in Hangman Adam Page, who was one of the guys who defended Colt Cabana when Punk showed up there, and played the rest of this clip here. So as you can see there, Mr. Punk is very upset and very in his feelings at the moment. So I want to start this off with Cassidy, because obviously you know a little bit more context about the story surrounding this one. I can say this just from the kind of the background of this whole situation. I've never been a fan of CM Punk, and I've been very open about that. I've never been a fan when he was in the Straight Edge Society, when he was the whole pipe bomb, all that stuff. When he was at his absolute height, I've just never been a fan of him. He never appealed to me. But obviously, he has a very big fan base within this pro wrestling community, that he's been away for 7 years, came back, and everyone's treating him like the hero / martyr / God, whatever case you want to be. The problem is that here's the situation. He is a very, very difficult to deal with individual, because he has a massive overinflated ego, and it's very hard to mesh with others, as you can plainly see. There's a reason why the WWE did not want this guy back in their locker room, because they felt like he was a cancer to the locker room and no one wanted to deal with him anymore. Everyone assumed that, well, Punk's problem was Triple H and Vince McMahon. So now that he's in another company, he's going to be on his best behavior because he's not dealing with those people anymore. 1 year after he's come to the company, we've gotten to the point where now they're talking about, are they going to fire Punk? Are they going to suspend him? Or are the other guys who we talked about going to walk away from the company? 1 year into bringing this guy in, and he's borderline destroyed the reputation that this company has built over the last few years. So, Cassie, I know you have a lot to say about this one. I'll let you go, and then I'll let the other two jump on here. But what do you think about this whole CM Punk mess that is coming on?
CM Punk talks shit like he thinks he's the Marlon Brando of wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's just like, bro, you by fact are a mid-carder. That is what CM Punk has always been. That's his size. That he, you know, that's just the type of person he is. He's a mid-carder. He's a decent mid-carder. I think that, you know, in his prime, before he had that, you know, retirement situation, I thought he was a pretty good wrestler, but you're just a glorified mid-carder, and he does have his fans because, well, he has like the whole Punk attitude. But it's like, bro, when you're pushing fucking 45 at this point and you're still acting this way, it's just, you just look like an asshole. And AEW is gonna have to do something about it, because he literally went at the executive VP's heads. It's like either you make them look weak, they either take it and then they look like a weak ass company, they look like, it makes it look like they have no control. Yeah. And so it's like either you make an example of CM Punk, or, well, everybody can just run train over AEW's fucking AEW's higher ups. That's really what it comes down to. But
and not just higher ups, locker room in general, because this is a guy who called out Adam Page, because the whole thing that this started with is that Page and Punk did a promo on television like 3 months ago, and Page implied that, you know, that Punk was the reason that Colt Cabana is not on the show anymore. Punk took offense to that, thought that he was going into business for himself. So a few months later, he decides he's just going to randomly call out Hangman, knowing that he wasn't even at the show that night, in order to make him look stupid. And this thing's been snowballing ever since, even though it seems like the only person who still has a problem with this is Punk. He's been the only one that's still angry about this whole situation. And like I say, he's gone after Hangman Page. We all know that him and Eddie Kingston have a history. They don't like each other. There's multiple people in this locker room that do not like him, but that put up with him because he is one of the top guys in the company. So you're just at this point now where it's like, okay, it's between him and the locker room. You're either going to lose your locker room by continuing to let this guy get away with murder, essentially, or you got to get rid of your guy who's arguably your biggest draw right now, but he's a complete poison to everything that you have going on. So you got to make a decision one way or another, and he's going to have to make it soon.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't understand why he literally said, oh, it's sad that I have to come out here and address this. It's like, you didn't have to. You can just, be the adult in the situation. I'm not saying that
you're 44 years old. You're not a teenager anymore.
Exactly. It's just like, bro, you're too old for this shit, man. You just look like a fucking dick face at this point. Like, you don't have to say anything. Your fans are going to go bitch and moan for you anyway. Why do you even have to bring it to this point? It just makes him look like a sleazeball. I mean, he proves it every chance he gets that he's a sleazeball, if it be to his fans or, to the locker room, to management, to all these other companies. He proves it to everyone every fucking chance he gets. And it's just like, when y'all just go and listen? Because he's telling you he don't give a fuck about nobody but himself.
Yeah, and then there was like some people saying, oh, this is possibly a work. It's not real. It's like, no, this has been this guy's personality for well over 20 years. You guys are just in denial about this is exactly the type of guy who he is. So you have to keep this whole facade going that, oh, this has to be a work, because the Punk that I know would never do anything like that. Like the Punk that probably despises you in real life. That's the reality of this situation.
Yep.
So, Rob, I know, like you said, this was talked about on Nightwave last night. I'm pretty sure you did like the whole show on this. So, what is kind of just your gaze from an outside perspective about this whole situation with Punk in the locker room?
And I mean, maybe I heard it wrong or wasn't paying enough attention, but I think CM Punk is sitting next to Tony Khan when he's saying this. Yes. So he's sitting next to he's
sitting next to the boss of the company while he's basically running down everyone in his locker room.
That's what I don't understand about this whole situation. It's just like, if you're the head of the company, why are you letting this dude like just badmouth your company and like it? Because to me, that's what makes it seem more like, it's to set up some kind of like match or whatever. Because again, I don't know the terms very well, because I was a fan when I was a kid mostly, but so I don't get it mostly because I'm coming from the outside, but it just doesn't seem like it seems like very self-indulgent behavior on the part of CM Punk.
Yeah, so to clarify here, Tony Khan, just think about Tony Khan. And obviously, if you're a fan of like sports, you may know him. His dad is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. They also own the Fulham football team, soccer club in London as well, right? So their family is known for like owning sports teams and whatnot. So they have a lot of money. And Tony Khan is not well liked outside of the world of professional wrestling. Like, there's a lot of players within the NFL who don't want to play for him in his organization because they know how incompetent he is. The fans obviously don't like him because they have not been successful since they've taken over for the last couple of years. Fans in the UK do not like him because their club is basically in the toilet right now. So he's not a well-liked person outside of pro wrestling. But in pro wrestling, what he did is that he brought in all of these people who were like internet faves, who were like who were faves with wrestling fans in certain circles and whatnot. So he brought in Kenny Omega and Jericho and the Young Bucks and CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and all these names. So he has a fan base within the pro wrestling community, which is really the only place where he's really truly liked. The problem is that his personality, he's not a strong leader at all. The reason why all this is happening or has been happening over the course of the last few months is because they don't have strong leadership in AEW. What Punk did this Sunday, he would not have pulled if Vince McMahon was running the company. He would not have pulled that shit, sitting right next to Vince McMahon, the owner of the company, the way he did with Tony Khan. If any other leader who had any kind of strength or balls whatsoever would have immediately cut him off and said, we're not doing this here. No, but that's the thing. Tony Khan is not that type of person. He wants to be liked because he isn't well liked anywhere else outside of the world of pro wrestling. So he sits there and lets his top guy, who, when you think you're your top guy, your champion, you are kind of de facto the leader of the locker room, right? You're supposed to be the top guy, the guy that the biggest draw in the company. So you're in a sense the guy that everyone looks forward to for advice, for leadership, things of that nature. But when you're sitting there as the top guy in the company and you're just running down the people in your own locker room, calling them idiots, calling them children, calling them incompetent in front of the entire world, then what do you think is going to happen after that? People don't want to be around you. And what happened was that after he went and did his little rant, he went and found the EVPs who he called out. They got into an altercation. Apparently punches were thrown, chairs were thrown. So now they're talking about possible legal action, things of that nature. They're still trying to figure out what's going on with the company right now. But essentially, you've had a guy that came in, you gave him the world. You gave him, all of these shows in Chicago, which is his hometown. You gave him the championship, and he's still a miserable prick. And now he's pretty much destroyed all the chemistry that you guys have built up over the last 3 years. And now you're at a point where it's like it's going to be him or everyone else.
So
they're not going to keep going on.
It's the NFL equivalent it's the wrestling equivalent of Antonio Brown then? Just being completely toxic and shit.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's just, like I said, a complete detriment to the locker room. It's like, he may be talented, he may be great, but at what point are you just going to keep putting up with his bullshit? Like that's where we're at right now. So, like I said, they're trying to figure this out. Now, Johnson, obviously, nothing about what we talked about, but I think we've gone to enough detail where you can kind of gauge what's going on. So what's just kind of your general feelings of this whole situation with Punk?
Okay, so my first thought is like, I don't know any of these people. I don't know what's going on. And the only thing I can think of is like, okay, I can't imagine Tom Brady doing this.
No.
So like, I get that like football is very different from Ultimate Fighting stuff, right? right?
No, this is
UFC.
pro wrestling, so yeah.
Pro wrestling, okay.
Yeah.
So it's got to be more personal, more dramatic, and more like kind of character investment. So
Yeah.
I think I would probably agree with Rob, where it's like maybe he's trying to set up something for some kind of epic comeback, drama, like to bolster his support. And like people today love a victim, so this is.
But
he's a virtuous victim because of all the good stuff that he did. So.
Yeah, and I understand like a lot of people are looking at it as like, oh, this has to be building to something like down the line. The problem is the guy who he's shitting on, talking about that, I paid all your bills and you had a bank account with your mother. That guy's not even on the show. He hasn't been on the show in months. So this is a guy who's probably like sitting at home, completely detached with the company, and you have the top guy who just decides to completely run you down, like on national TV on this grand scale. And all these guys that he's talking about are not guys he's going to be feuding with. This is the other part of the story that that doesn't really get talked about at all. But MJF is a guy who came back last Sunday night. His whole return was supposed to be this big deal because he had walked out a few months ago, but now he's back with the company. He was supposed to be working with Punk. But Punk is more worried about throwing Colt Cabana under the bus and throwing Adam Page under the bus. They even talk about the fact that the guy who just came back tonight, who he's going to be facing, or at least he seemingly was going to be facing moving forward, we didn't even want to talk about him. There was another clip where Tony Khan is like trying to ease the waters a little bit, and the reporters say, let's talk about MJF tonight. Then you can just see like Punk's reaction. He just like rolls his eyes because he doesn't even want to talk about the guy who just came back, who he's going to be doing business with in the next few weeks. Which just shows you that his whole mentality is that he only cares about himself. Like he doesn't care about anything. Because I said, you're starting shit with guys you're not going to be working with. You don't want to put over. You only want in the company anymore. So it's like, what is the point of all this? Because none of this is going to build to a match that's going to draw money down the line. All you're doing is just burning your bridges again with a completely different company, justifying that the other company that didn't even want you back was completely justified not bringing you back in the first place.
Yeah. The thing is, it's like, look, I love a good divisive person. I like to be divisive myself. But CM Punk's problem is that he's divisive for his own intent. Like he's completely like self-absorbed prick. Because it's like, if you're divisive for the sake of, the people or whatever, then it's like, okay, then we can see why you're likable. But you don't like your fans. Your fans like you for whatever fucking reason. I'll never understand at this point. But he does not like his fans, so it's like you have to pick like some sort of side. You can't be in it for yourself because that's what destroyed your situation with another company. Now we'll say WWE did fuck with him in terms of him dealing with a staph infection. But yeah, like it's one of those things where it was both sides that were clearly being problematic, and he's just gonna destroy what he has here at AEW. Then he's just gonna blame everyone else but himself. When it's like, bro, you're clearly here for yourself. All you want to do is hear your fucking self talk. I don't get it. It's like, why are you so upset? You fucking like you have money. You have fame, and like, why are you such a miserable fucking prick? You have opportunity. He's destroying it, but he has opportunity. So I don't get why he's such a miserable fucking asshole. I mean, you have a pretty wife. I guess maybe it's because his wife won't give him kids. I think that's the only thing we can think of. His wife got him wearing his pro-abortion T-shirt because she's also pro-abortion too. So I guess I guess he's a miserable cuck. That's all I can come down with.
Isn't he like a vegan, like a vegan commie? Like,
I mean, pretty much. I mean, he's one of those guys that his whole gimmick for like years is that he doesn't drink or do drugs or whatever. And
straight edge.
Yeah, exactly. The whole.
That's like from
thing.
Me being a teenager days. Like hey, we're not gonna have. It's like wait, so it's like this alternative thing, but it's like Christian. Like what?
Yeah,
and it's
but you hate Christians though. So it's like,
right. Exactly. I don't get it.
Yeah, the whole thing's a dumpster fire. And I will say this. Now, obviously, a lot of AEW fans don't exactly know how to react to this whole situation because, like I said, there's no Vince McMahon or Triple H to blame in this whole situation. So you can't point the finger at anyone else. So now you have the situation with AEW fans where you have the Punk fans versus the Elite fans, and now they're in a civil war with each other, pointing fingers about who's to blame about this whole situation. So yeah, people who are finally waking up and saying, yeah, you know what, Punk's just been the problem this whole time. Then you have the other group of fans be like, well, no, I mean, if they were spreading rumors about him that everything Punk said was true, it's like you're going to have that group of fans that are just going to go down with the ship with CM Punk at this point. Like I said, we all know who the problem is. Like I said, I'm not a Kenny Omega fan. I'm not a Young Bucks fan. Like Cassie knows, I don't care any about these guys. But in this situation, it's like Punk has a track record of doing shit like this, and that goes back almost 20 years. So like when there's a common denominator, when you have a problem with absolutely everybody, and then you're the common denominator, like that's the problem right there. And the problem is that CM Punk is too narcissistic to look in the fucking mirror and see who the real problem is in this whole situation. So any last thoughts on this one before we move on to our next topic?
It's going to be interesting when the cover boy for the AEW game is either suspended or no longer part of AEW. Yeah.
And I can only imagine they've already spent like, I think people have said they spent near $100 million on the production of this game already. Can you imagine how much more money they're gonna have to put into this just to fix the roster issues? If half these guys either get fired or quit in the next couple of days before this game gets released. Yeah, this whole thing is going to be an absolute mess, and this is why you don't hire certain guys like this in the first place. All I can say is a toto so. That's what I'll leave this story with. So let's move over to the other hot story this weekend, which was Amazon's Power of the Rings, which, if you guys don't know, everyone in the media is doing everything they possibly can to defend this shit right now because it's not getting good reviews with actual viewers, with actual audiences. Sure, you'll have your shill websites that go up there and say, this is the greatest thing that I've ever seen, and Token will be proud. And if you don't like it, you never read it. They can get all of that bullshit from Screen Rant and from Variety and from The Wrap. The people who watch the show says that it sucks. And to be honest with you, the biggest complaint that I've heard about this series so far is that it's just boring. Like, it's not even about, the diversity and inclusion that they go all in on. It's like, this is just boring and it's not good. Mm-hmm. But Amazon has decided that they're going to remove your ability to leave any reviews on this because there's a threat of being review bombed out there So initially, when this story broke earlier this week, this is when the Spencer wrote. They said that we're going to hold off on reviews for 72 hours. Now they've essentially removed it altogether. So you're not allowed to leave any negative reviews of this show on Amazon whatsoever. And what they're going with now is that, well, this show is critically acclaimed because all the corporate shills love this show. And if you don't like it, you're a racist. This is essentially what's happening here. A lot of people, a lot of outlets have basically started writing articles saying that, you know, if you don't like this show, you're racist because you don't like the diversity. You don't have any complaints about the quality of the show, even though many people have done like hour-long videos on YouTube talking about every like detail of what's wrong with this show, but they're completely disregarding that to push their narrative. And the latest move by Hollywood, corporate America at large, to silence dissidents against the narrative of unacceptable products under the guise of fighting internet trolls, Amazon has revealed a new user plan that will give them the ability to remove any negative reviews from the Prime Video service. Like I said, they've now gone on to make this permanent. Variety wrote an article last week saying that the system allows for 72 hours to pass after the film's premiere before users can leave reviews, which is a dumb plan to begin with, because it's not like people are going to wait 3 days to be like, no, you know what, that negative review that I was going to leave, I think I'm going to leave a positive one now. Like, if they didn't like it, they're not going to like it 72 hours later. But the key problem here with this whole story is that Amazon has invested at least $1 billion into this property. This is supposed to be like 5 seasons they've committed to already, 4 or 5 seasons, even though they haven't officially announced a new one yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen because of the amount of money they have into it. The production of the first season probably went somewhere about $465 million alone, just on all the special effects and the shooting and the locations and all that stuff. So what's really happening here is that Amazon has spent, like I said, $1 billion on this terrible television show, the most expensive television show to produce in history. And they don't want any negative so far. And they don't want any negative reaction to go out there that was going to sink their investment. Now, this one I actually thought was hilarious. Not only did they remove your ability to leave negative reviews of Rings of Power, they also removed your ability to do negative reviews of the League of Your Own reboot. Now, we talked about this a couple of weeks back, how the girl from Broad City did like a woke lesbian version of A League of Their Own, which is absolutely horrible. Well, they've removed those reviews as well because that was being review bombed, quote unquote. Yeah. So we all know like what's happening here. And just a little side rant here. This term review bomb is probably one of the dumbest things that I've heard in quite some time. There's no such thing as review bombing. It's like you create a show that fucking sucks and you don't want to admit that it sucks. So it's like, no, it's not our show that's bad. It's the viewers who are bad. You're a sexist if you don't like She-Hulk. You're a racist if you don't like Rings of Power. You're a homophobe if you don't like the League of Your Own reboot. That's where we're at now in media and discourse. And then people wonder why are we so divided as a country? I wonder why. So I'll start this one off with you, Rob. What is your thoughts of Amazon doing everything they can to prevent anyone from saying anything negative about this garbage show?
Well, I mean, it's almost like Cuties was a test balloon to basically accuse people of review bombing that too, because that's what they said when that came out too. I can't remember specifically what it is, like what movies they were. There were movies that were review bombed, you know, and I don't know if it was like things like The Interview, where it was review bombed by like China and North Korean hackers or whatever. There are legitimate cases of that happening, but they're now using that as an excuse, as an accusatory sort of, having this accusatory tone that, oh, well, the only reason these have any negative reviews is because people are racist or sexist or discriminating against this brave show. And it's like, and you see it from the Daily Beast to like the New York Times to whoever, and they're just like, oh, this is a really good show. You need to check it out. And it was just like in the same article, someone was recommending, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. So it's like, you people are absolutely ridiculous at this point. And, I haven't seen the show. I probably won't because I don't have Amazon right now. But it's just like, and it's not for me. Like the movies were fine, but I don't need to go to revisit the material. So, I think it's a shame they can't just be honest and say, hey, if we fail, we failed and we'll move on. But they're just going to double down on their terrible decision making.
Johnson, what do you think about this whole situation?
Well, I have books on Amazon and I get Amazon reviews. And so obviously Amazon is completely in the right, and this is all because of climate change.
Yes.
That's all I have to say about this.
It's not my books that are bad, it's the climate change that made people be racist.
Exactly. I feel like this is not talked about.
A direct quote. And by the way, I do want to bring this up too. We only do this with obviously Amazon shows that they want to protect. They feel like they have to protect Rings of Power. They feel like they have to protect League of Their Own. We just had the situation a month ago when Chris Pratt's show, The Terminalist, came out, and the mainstream critics trashed that show. You had people talking about, oh, this is a evil right-wing fascist fantasy, and that was like the narrative that was going around on the internet, right? So if you go on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, you have all these review bombs from critics on that one, say how negative it was. The audiences loved it. The audiences had no problem with it. I think it's something like 30% on critics and like almost 90 to 80% on audiences. So they clearly only do this with stuff that they want to protect, because there's stuff in these shows that they feel like they're personally attached to with their agenda. So it's a bunch of BS. Cassie, what do you think about this nonsense?
I mean, this is what happens when monopolies exist. Amazon is in fact a monopoly. They own a lot. In terms of being able to protect their assets in very nefarious ways. And at some point, what is the straw that's going to break the camel's back? Like I said it before, on the show, that when it comes to censorship, that's a big thing that leads to violence. You censor people, you keep people from being able to have a voice. Unfortunately, that leads to then, well, my voice isn't heard, so I must take the next step sort of deal. And I don't want that to happen. None of us want that to happen. Just let people say what they want to say, if it be review bombing in the positive or the negative, because that happens where like, oh, well, this group of people doesn't like this thing that I like and I want to support because I'm a fucking... because I'm a corporate slave, so I'm going to give this show a 10 out of 10 to spite them. It's just, this is so fucking pathetic. It's like they literally are acting as though you writing a review is a literal, like, it is the worst thing ever. Yeah, it's like as though you pulled out a gun and shot someone. That's the way they're treating it. People's words. That's how much they want to control you. And, get the word out there any way you can, just to spite these motherfuckers. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of us that clearly see a problem. So shit on the show, do it in other ways. Like I said, mocking and shaming. Make Amazon look like a fucking joke. The joke that they are when it comes to this shit.
It's shameful on a couple of different levels, because it's like journalists are supposed to be critical of the powerful. And I know that whatever, we're talking about a TV show, but this is the reason that they're being shielded from criticism is like people aren't users are not allowed to review them, basically giving honest feedback from the public standpoint. And so it's like all of these institutions, whether it's the Daily Beast or whoever, they're basically saying, it's great, and if you disagree, you're racist. And so it's like there's nobody pushing back against that that's in the corporate media, really. I mean, you've got Fox News, you've got some pushback, but it's really not spirited. It's not. I mean, it's more for content or for the culture war, I guess, but. It's just it's so disappointing, because it's like journalists are supposed to question things and be suspicious and critical and say, this really doesn't meet the standard that great movies, great TV shows have come up to in the past. So it's just like, just be honest about it. It sucks.
Yeah.
Like most things that have come out right now, new things suck. It's okay, but just be honest about it.
Yeah, it's just strange how far we've come, where The media's very inception is to keep government and to keep corporations honest. That is the point. That is checks and balances.
But you can't do that when the corporations own the media. That's the thing that people haven't really clicked into their minds yet. It's like all of these media outlets are owned by corporations. It's like, so, for example, the Washington Post, which is now owned by Amazon, by the way, actually gave The Rings of Power kind of a so-so negative review when it came out last week. So that was their own outlet. But you look at all of these, like, quote unquote, these are supposed to be where we get our news from. It's like, who's CNN owned by? It's owned by Warner Media. Who's Fox News owned by? Fox Corp. Who's MSC owned by? Comcast. Like all of these news outlets that you think are objective, you know, in the middle, you know, outlets, they're all owned by corporations. So they're not meant to essentially keep these people honest anymore. They're meant to push the agenda of the corporations. And in a lot of cases, a lot of the government crap that's being pushed down, they're pushing that agenda as well.
This is why I am a libertarian, because it's like, when you look at it, it's like the idea of how all this shit is supposed to be run is nice as an idea, but does it work? No, we're dealing with legitimate fascism. It's the fucking the corporations own the media, and the government and the corporations work together to fuck with us. That's how it works, and that's why I just want to burn it to the fucking ground. That's honestly how I feel.
I know Johnson was going to. Let's say I know Johnson was getting ready to say something. So go ahead.
That's okay. I agree with like all of this, and for like real. I mean, like Amazon wants to be the next Disney. I mean, like when you have all the money in the world, like Jeff Bezos does, like what do you need next? After that, you need affirmation, you need affluence, you need power. So it's kind of just it's a move, and you know there is a lot of coordination between media companies. I mean, look at how much like Twitter and YouTube kind of like rely on each other for things, and it's like it is really creepy. It's like Big Brother, and we've gotten it's like Big Brother meets Big Brother because BB double plus good, right? But now we're in a house of Big Brother companies. So you have Jeff Bezos over here, and then you have like Chopek over there with Disney, and they're like fighting each other. And it would be funny if we weren't the people that were getting hurt by it. So, I mean, that's really just it's a bunch of egos kind of like smashing together to raise our taxes and make us fund this stuff. And I mean, like it's been theorized that this, like, even if this fails, this is going to be a huge tax write-off, and Amazon doesn't pay taxes. So you know, yay, one more thing for me to fund. So
one last thing before I move on to the next one here, and I want to know if I'm going to run a little what they say conspiracy theory by you guys. Is that when I was thinking of this, it's like they clearly know that this shit's not good. Like they can't honestly believe with the bottom of the heart that this is amazing content that they're creating here.
Wait,
and
you mean the black dwarf woman with a beard doesn't want you to watch more of the Lord of the Rings?
Well, another little side rant. There was an actor who now is coming out and saying that, oh, I received racial abuse because I'm a black elf on the show for the last 2 years. It's like, dude, no one knows who you are now. You expect me to believe that for the last 2 years people have been racially abusing you? Like, if you heard the dude's name, I don't even know the fucking dude's name. That's how relevant you are to this conversation.
When it comes to that shit, I don't give a fuck. I just do not give a single fuck. I've had to deal with assholes on PSN saying they're going to blow up my house and all this shit. And guess what? It happens to us all. I decided to put myself out there by, doing YouTube and all that shit. That's just the shit you're going to deal with. So if you don't like it, get the fuck out of the spotlight. What can I tell you? Can't take the heat. Get the fuck out of the kitchen. I'm tired of all this bitching and moaning. Every fucking buddy has a sob story, and I'm sorry, I just don't give a shit about yours.
Yeah, some people need better packaging for that.
So the point that I was making here is that I feel like with these shows, we've gotten to the point with our society and our entertainment where they're just creating these shows so that they know it's going to be derivative when it comes out, because it's like, oh, we're going to race swap all these traditionally white characters, and then we're going to lower the content of the show. So that way, when people complain about it, we can just call them racist, and that way we can justify our own worldview that everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is homophobic. I feel like that's where we're at right now with these shows. Like, this is the only reason why they're creating this shit, is kind of do like some kind of self-fulfilling prophecy shit and justifying their own worldviews. Like, does anyone else feel that way, or do they think that this shit is actually good?
They just want.
Oh, go ahead.
CS. Good.
Oh, that's okay. I feel like on some level, like this, so they are taking a big step. They bought out like Legendary Films and Pinewood Studios here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know, they put a lot of money into this. Obviously, they wanted to succeed, and they're at a place where they can tip the scales in their favor, and they can justify it with a few really just random bot tweets.
Yeah.
You know, and so why not do kind of like, and you know, like the writing in Hollywood has gone down the tube so badly in recent years. It is relatively easy to fall back on that old standby of, you just don't like women, or you just don't like black people, or you just don't like people of color. You know, it's so you know, it's
and
about,
by the way, people who are saying that are the same ones who claim that they hate mega corporations like Amazon, but they're the main ones online defending shit like this created by Amazon.
yeah, well, I mean, it's harder to create stuff, and I mean, like, you know, like even in my writing throughout the years, like it's evolved because I've, you know, just met different people and stuff like that, but it's not like I've forced any storylines for any like particular reason, if that makes sense. So this is definitely like more of a business heavy sort of approach to it, where the end of the game, the end game is money, power, prestige. Whereas if it's more of an art thing, it's more about legacy. It's more about leaving something that people will treasure and cherish and love. You know, this seems more like a power grab to me than an artistic endeavor that should be applauded.
Yeah, but
when it boils,
go ahead.
Honestly, when it boils down to it, look, I am a supporter of secession wholeheartedly, because the bottom line is they want to turn the generation, you know, after us, Gen Z. They're already a bunch of fucking commies. Let's be real now. They're a bunch of little fucking commies that are spoiled brats, and they're being raised to be adult commies. And once that happens, guess what? You think shit is hard now? Oh, yeah, we're done if we don't break away from this enormous power. Like, at this point, I wholeheartedly believe that. And what you're saying is right. But it all leads to indoctrinating these young, foolish children that are becoming adults, and it's just making them into the most horrible generation that will drive America into everything that we fear. That is the whole goal. It's just the rolling snowball effect, and we're watching it before our very eyes.
Yep.
I won't argue with that. So.
Well, I just reminded of the whole, you know, weak men make hard times, and then, you know, where that comes. And it's kind of what you're talking about, Cassie. Is just that whole like, well, if they're just going to condition, and you know, the entire generations coming up to be weak, spoiled, entitled. You know, everything's racist, sexist, homophobic. They're, you know, America is hopelessly systemically corrupt. And you know what's funny is, like, when I was a young person, and even now, you could sell that to me as an idea, but you'll never tear away my desire to be an individual. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the whole thing, is like, you all these young people are like, you're okay being another collectivist clone that has no personality, no spine, no willingness to go against the grain. Who the fuck are you? Like, what personality do you have? You know, that shit, that would irk me more than anything. It's like, yeah, okay, you can look at America and say all the institutions are corrupt or whatever, but it's, you know, you can still have a good life here. And it's like, in that sense, every country has corruption. You know what I mean? It's like,
it makes no sense, man.
You know what I
makes
mean?
zero
But it's just to convince the stupid people to give up their own rights in a sense by telling them that no, you shouldn't follow your own country's ideology because it's bad, and the only way to truly be a part of something better is basically just surrender all your rights and eat the bugs and things of that nature.
It makes no sense because it's like you say that America's so evil, but yet totally support giving the government more power, you fucking morons.
Because in their minds, they think, no, we control the government. The government works for us. So if we give the government all the power, that means we run everything. It's like,
we're doomed, bro. I don't know
Yeah.
what else to say. Just stock up on your ammo. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. at
and
this
food,
point,
because
man.
apparently the food shortages is
Yeah.
still coming too. So you may want to
Yeah.
buy a freezer and get some meats because things are gonna get crazy here. I do want to answer this question before we go on to our next topic here. What's his name? Nob, dude. I'm gonna butcher the name.
Nobshin.
Nobshin, yeah,
Nobshin.
not. Oh, that's even worse than what I said. But he asked. He hears that Netflix has
Nabe.
been easing down on their woke ideology. Is that true or false? Not from anything that I've seen. I will say this: they have, in fact, like when it comes to Netflix, anything that they produce in house is going to be woke garbage. That's just the way it is with Netflix at this point. Either they're going to be extremely woke, or even if it's not extremely woke, it's just going to be extremely mediocre. It's not even like that good content that you're seeing there. Like I know Christian Toto was just talking about watching that new Kevin Hart movie that's on Netflix with Mark Wahlberg, and that's just garbage.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to get out of Netflix at this point. Now maybe you'll get there's some foreign stuff that they produce out like outside of like the Hollywood system that they're showing on their platform. That'll be pretty decent because I mentioned this. There's a South Korean show called Tomorrow, which is really, really good, but it wasn't produced by Netflix. It was produced in South Korea and it's being shown on Netflix. So you might get some situations like that, but anything that's being made in-house on Netflix is going to be trash. So I wouldn't expect anything like that to happen.
I don't know
Yeah.
what happened on Netflix though. I mean, like they were so popular with like Orange is the New Black, and
even that show sucked. I mean, can we be honest? Like
I never watched it, so I just heard it was funny because that's how people were like, "Oh, Trump's in office now. Orange is the New Black."
I'll be honest with you. I've seen all of it. The first couple of seasons are tolerable, and I would say they're not bad.
Yeah.
Anything after season 2 is just like you just want to fucking drown yourself in a pool of bleach.
Yeah.
Like that.
It's bad actually. It's an
Yeah.
interesting
Well, like
concept.
that and Stranger Things is the only thing I could really think of. That's
No,
really taken off.
if you want a good women's prison show, watch Wentworth instead. Wentworth is the Australian show, and it's far superior than Orange is the New Black in every way, shape, or form. So if that's what you're looking for, that show is far better. Spencer's joining us. Oh, go ahead real quick. I was going to say that Spencer is joining us in the chat right now.
I was just gonna say I actually saw the first 3 seasons of Orange is the New Black, and this is back when I was more, let's just say I was more open to perspectives on the downtrodden in life. But I'll say it's okay. It has its moments, but it was created by Genji Kohan, who made Weeds, and so that's kind of why I was interested, because it was like Weeds started off really good, and then it just nosedived. It just absolutely like died once it got to like season 3 and on. The same thing kind of happened with Orange is the New Black. It kind of just after the first season kind of went downhill. But
yeah, and I will say that is a general criticism I've had of most TV shows I like, is that they can't finish well.
Yeah.
So if at all,
or they
why I'm-
continue when they shouldn't. That's really what it comes down to.
No, and that's the
Most
thing.
Netflix series just they're made for one season and that's it. Most of them.
Yeah, I'm very picky about my TV shows that I have, like as like TV shows I love and stuff, because it's really hard. Because, and I've said this before, TV is sort of supposed to continue and go on and sort of perpetuate itself and exist for as long as it can.
Yeah.
But the best TV shows are it has a strong creative vision, and then 5 to 6 seasons. And
Yeah, I mean, Disney. If you guys remember, like old school Disney Channel, I'm not talking about like the Hannah Montana show. I'm going back even further than that. Like in the '90s, they instituted a rule that any show, no matter how popular it was, only gets 65 episodes, and then it's wrapped up, right? And I actually don't mind that system at all. Like even the kind of system that the UK does, because the UK has like notoriously short like TV series. Like they don't have shows that go on for like 10 years. Like you'll get maybe like 30 episodes, then like a show is done, but I like shows that are just good and get straight to a point and then ends in a way that's satisfactory rather than having a show that goes on for like 9 seasons but only the first 3 were any good. So that's the way that I look at it. Well, let's hop over to our next conversation, which is big tech. Now, for those of you guys who are fans of Bounding in the Comics, I'm going to give you a little preview of an article that we're working on right now. But essentially, this is a story that our good friend Culture Casino shot over in my way. And this is something that's kind of been snowballing for months, but no one's really paying attention to it because it's not getting any real true mainstream coverage. I've seen a couple of articles about this from like CNBC. That's pretty much it. And CNBC is kind of weird to be covering stuff like this. But this one is big tech is hammering the parent company of Pornhub. Now, apparently, what's been going on here over the last couple of last few months is that the parent company of Pornhub, which is MindGeek, has been in a slew of lawsuits because they've been accused of profiting off of child pornography. And what they mean is that there's been a lot of instances of women who allege that their boyfriends or ex-boyfriends, whatever the case may be, uploaded videos of them having sex or engaging in sexual acts when they were not of the age of 18. And a lot of them are trying to get these videos taken off of the platform to no avail, which means that, there's been a lot of like ads that have run on these videos. Pornhub and his parent company has made tons of money off of this. And now some of the girls are fighting back. And now because Visa has now been thrown under the bus in this lawsuit, people are now starting to distance themselves away from MindGeek. So essentially what happened here, reading a little bit of the story, is that the parent company is being sued. This is the company that owns sites like Pornhub, browsers, things of that nature. They're being sued in a lawsuit involving this woman right here, Sorrenta Felites, who was a plaintiff who alleges when she was 13 years old, she was pressured by her then boyfriend into making a porn video that was uploaded onto Pornhub without her knowledge or consent. This caused her to develop a drug addiction. She attempted suicide. She tried to get the video taken off of the platform. She pleaded with the platform to get it off. They would not do it. They kept it on there for years, and it led to a lawsuit basically acknowledging that they're the reason for her suicide attempt, her drug addiction, and the fact that they've been guilty of holding these underage girls on their platform in these videos that they're making millions of dollars off of. She was a plaintiff last year who sued Pornhub and MindGeek, which is the parent company, for child exploitation, the monetization of child porn, rape videos, traffic content, and stolen content. Now, in the course of this, earlier this year, the MindGeek CEO and COO both resigned from their company. This is a Montreal, Canada-based company. They both left the company on the face of mounting legal issues. A district judge says that not only will they be liable for trial, but Visa is also going to be liable for a trial as well, rejecting the notion that Visa made the decision to continue to recognize MindGeek as a merchant, despite its alleged knowledge of MindGeek's monetization of child porn. So now Visa is also being sued, and because Visa is being sued, both Visa and MasterCard are no longer allowing ads for the user's website to be allowed with their payment processors, but the payment processors are still a part of the site itself, which is another issue that's going to be discussed later on. So you're looking at a industry here, a porn industry that averages about $200 billion a year on what a lot of these videos produce. OnlyFans has also driven up a lot of the revenue in this case because apparently women on OnlyFans have earned almost $4 billion last year alone just on OnlyFans, which is a very, very sad number when you think of the implications of what that actually means. MindGeek has also been accused of grooming young girls into the porn industry because they promoted things such as Next Career Goal, which encourages young women to join things like OnlyFans and the other porn hub content that they have on there. So you're dealing with something that has like multiple lawsuits. They were sued in 2020 and forced to remove over 11 million videos from his platform, which is almost 80% of his content, due to being accused of promoting child pornography and profiting off of it. 40 plaintiffs saw $80 million in damages for trauma, attempted suicide, ostracization. They settled out of court with an undisclosed amount. So this is something that's been boiling for a very, very long time. Now even Instagram has banned Pornhub's account on their platform. They had about 13 million viewers on that platform. Instagram has now banned them. I think Facebook may have banned them as well. No, that wasn't confirmed. But yeah, this is the situation that's just snowballing into a bigger and bigger and bigger thing right now. And this is still ongoing. This is still active in a lot of situations. So obviously we'll have this story up in the next couple of days. But given what you guys have heard, I want to start with Johnson here. What is your thoughts on Pornhubs and a bunch of other porn companies, their parent company, essentially getting in serious legal trouble for the content that they've been profiting of for the last God knows how many years now?
I feel like this is a good thing, and it's something I would enjoy. It's people want to talk about today about like victims in society, and a lot of these people are actual literal victims. And when you kind of when you're young and you're very idealistic and you look at the world with stars in your eyes, pretty much,
Yeah.
you can't just, like, it's the same thing. It's the same way I feel about like student loan debt, and is like people like offer you these dreams and like, oh, here, just give us this thing. And like money is one thing. I'll grant you that. Taking out loans is one thing, and selling your body or your pride or going behind your girlfriend's back and doing all this stuff is another. But I see this as a win, because this is about integrity. This is about like trust that your money like is like it's just, this is disgusting stuff. I know people, like, when people talk about like politics and stuff, it's like conservatives are supposed to shut up about the gay stuff and the porn stuff, or we'll lose like clout or something. I don't know, but this is disgusting behavior, and porn should absolutely stop. Really, there's no telling what something that you do in your teenage years, or like even just one time, will have like these super devastating effects like decades on. And especially with the power of the internet, I think that's just awful. So
yeah, you're talking about videos that can potentially be on the internet forever that you won't be able to take off at any point in time. And this is something we've seen with a lot of women now. You can argue whether it's disingenuous or not, but you've obviously heard a few ex-porn stars who have come out and say that they regret their time in porn, because now they find it hard to find like stable relationships, because obviously when guys find out that they're in porn, they don't want anything to do with them, and they have that stigma, and all their videos are online and all these people have seen them naked and things of that nature. Those stories where you can argue whether they should have learned these lessons earlier or not, that can be debated. But it seems like a lot of these girls are not, quote unquote porn stars. They may have been, they somehow got talked into doing a sex tape and they got uploaded on the internet. And then when they wanted to take them off, the website just said, yeah, we're not going to do it. And it seems like the only reason why it's starting to fall apart now is, as I mentioned, now Visa has been implicated in this whole situation. So Visa is like, well, we're not going to go down just because you guys have a shit moderation system. So yeah, we're going down. We're taking all you guys with us. So now they're being forced to find some kind of control with the system. The thing that depressed me listening to that was the fact that apparently $4 billion that the women on OnlyFans made like $4 billion last year, which means that there's a lot of just sad simps out there that are literally paying God knows how much money monthly, yearly, just to see photos and videos of women naked on the internet. Like, I understand some people being down bad. Cassie, we may know someone like that in our own who I won't throw under the bus on this podcast. But it really just goes to show you, it's like, wow, like, we're just broken as a society right now, aren't we?
Yeah,
Well-
it's pretty bad.
Go ahead,
Well, you
Rob.
can't like one of Jordan Peterson's things that he gets like he talks about with relationships is that you have to let go of your dream girl before you can get the real girl.
Yeah.
And I think this is like a classic example of that, is that porn infantilizes you as a man or a woman, and the people that like grow out of their ignorance, like that did consent or maybe didn't consent in the girl's case, you know, is it like these people don't no longer consent to that. And if you don't take it down, that's you know, like at that point, that's just wrong. So I yep, I yep, I don't want to raise my kids to be in a world where like 90% of men and women are disaffected because of porn.
Yeah. Or
So
we get
you
to a
wanna live in
point
a
where like
world where-
OnlyFans is like one of the leading like employers of in the country at that point, because that's when things really start getting bad.
Well, I mean, Martin Luther King said, like, you know, be the change you want to see in the world. So it's like it's astounding to me when I talk with certain people like that I know that I interact with daily about their relationships, and they have so many problems, and it's like, why don't you just not be a douche about certain things? You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to explain to them. Like,
I just want to say real
Yeah.
quick, you
Yeah,
know,
go ahead, Rob, because you had a point too. So
yeah,
Oh no, I just wanted to say that, you know, you can look at the total number of, you know, the money that OnlyFans, you know, had received or whatever.
Mhm.
But if you average it out for how many users there are, it's like not much at all. So it's like, or whatever it is, like only 9% or 12% make, like a living amount of money.
Yeah,
to live off of, you know. So it's that, and that's, so it's like, it might be sad that, yeah, there are people out there that pay for OnlyFans or whatever, but it's also just like, well, it's not, I mean, it's minuscule in the scope of everything too.
But I think
Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, that is true. But I think the problem is that they'll look at someone who is making a bunch of money, like on OnlyFans. Like there was this one girl. This was on one of these outlets, one of the like kind of the, you know, the extra type shows, wherever the case is. I don't remember the exact outlet, but they were talking about this one girl who's like 22 years old, and she's like a model on OnlyFans. She talks about, I make $100,000 a month now on OnlyFans. So a lot of girls see that and they think, oh, well, this person's making $100,000 a month, I can go do it too, and then that drives them to go and start OnlyFans and stuff like that. And I've talked about this with quite a lot of guys, because I mean, there's still guys out there who treat OnlyFans just like it's porn. It's like, if you have an OnlyFans or you're doing like that type of stuff, like guys are not like interested in that. Like they're not attracted in girls who are essentially trying to get money out of like the porn industry. That's essentially what I feel OnlyFans is. It's for people who want to get into porn but don't want to have the shame of saying that they are porn stars. They're like, oh, I'm on OnlyFans, even though it's essentially the same thing. Like you're just going around the middleman at that point.
And it does seem like Pornhub really doesn't care. Like in terms of how they ran themselves as a company, it seems like they didn't even try to have some kind of moderation system, because this is a pretty egregious thing. And it's like that you should know that this is possible with the kind of business you run. You know what I mean? And you rake in the money and then you don't have like the security behind it. It's just, it makes me question a lot of things. Yeah. And I'm coming from the perspective of more libertarian about porn, you know, where it's like, I grew up with social conservatives being annoying about every social issue possible. So I'm kind of, you know, I'm trying to grow up, you know, and try to be like, okay, you know, maybe some of this stuff is relevant. Maybe it's not great to inundate yourself with this kind of content. But it's like, I also believe that every individual has a choice to live the life they want to live, no matter how destructive or, you know, negative the consequences are of their choices. But, you know, so
there's a point though that comes in where it affects other people, and that's where like, my moderation would kick in. Like, of course, you can't do this because of this thing.
Yeah. And then that's like I said, like I was mentioning earlier about the girls who are coming out here regretting their porn careers after like years after the fact. Like let's not act like that porn stars are the most mentally stable people like in the world too. Now you can argue that a lot of them come from messed up family households, and that's why they're in the position that they're in as well. But these are all people who are very, very damaged mentally, and that's why you see a lot of them go to drugs. You see a lot of them go to porn. And another little dirty secret about porn is that some of them don't last very long. There's been a lot of early deaths in the porn industry that people don't talk about too. So I definitely see the overarching like negative aspects of it too. It's like I understand where Rob's coming from, where you just like, hey, look, if that's the way you want to live, then all for it. But you also have to highlight that there is a very big negative aspect to a lot of these things too. So it comes to moderation and discipline to a lot of people.
Well, I mean, like if you want people to be free to make good choices, you have to make choices that will keep them free. Porn as an addiction will ruin people fast.
Yeah.
Any addiction, any drug, any I mean, like even like this hate watching stuff that goes on, like with TV shows, people just look for stuff to complain about, and it ends up ruining everything for everybody.
Yeah, I do want to track this point real quick. Neo here says it's ironic that SJWs complain about the male gaze but are completely silent on porn. No, they're not completely silent on porn. They outright promote it.
Yeah.
If you watch like Daily Beast would do like 5 or 6 articles a day, either defending porn, defending OnlyFans, or something of that sort. So they outright, in their minds, porn is female empowerment, but the male gaze is something bad. So it's like it's great if you sell your body on OnlyFans or on Pornhub, but if you write an anime character whose boobs are too big, then that's where we have a problem, because that's where you're going towards the male gaze. We can't do that. So no, they're absolutely hypocritical when it comes to that.
I actually term this as feminine logic, so because it's just not really logical at the end of the day. It's emotional, and it's emotionally manipulative in how anime bad, but porn good, and that's just that's ridiculous. So.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like when it comes to the topic of sex, I'm extremely shy. Like I don't really like to discuss sex very much.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the situation, like to me, porn, I'm very libertarian on it. If you want to engage, that's your decision. But a 13-year-old does not have the decision. They cannot consent. They are not of legal age. Pornhub should be doing absolutely everything to prevent underage children from being displayed on their website. That is just like, this should be basics. You should be taking this as seriously as possible. I mean, I remember, let me see. I want to say about 6 years ago, I was vaping, and I would actually have to take a picture of my ID, obviously blank out the unnecessary parts, and send it online to the people that I was buying vape products from to prove my age. Why can't Pornhub set up something of that sort in which, people that are engaged, are just like, they have their information sent to Pornhub for approval before any of this stuff goes up? You have to do everything in your power.
And I understand what you're saying, but it's because, and just what the lawsuit alleges, is that they didn't care because they were making money off of it. They didn't care the type of videos that people were uploading. They didn't care to see if all of these people were of age. It was like, hey, we're getting 20 billion hits a month on Pornhub, and that's going to translate to like $400 million. That's all they cared of. And to be honest, like I said, if a Visa wasn't implicated in this whole situation, now they wouldn't have done anything either. It's only because they're now actively being sued that they're trying to like stand up and pretend like they want to do something now.
And the thing is, it's like with these companies, man, you're going to have tons of videos being uploaded to Pornhub either way. Why you should just be vetting this shit as best as you can to at least cover your own ass, like duh. Any company should be doing that. It's obvious they don't care about young women. They don't even care about women that are of age, of course, and this is a problem. But when it comes down to it, man, like the fact that these things are an issue is because, a lot of young people nowadays aren't raised to respect themselves, respect their bodies. They're not raised with any self-respect whatsoever. And that's why, porn, underage kids get involved. People go down this outlet. It's because people are now raised with a huge lack of self-respect in the household.
Well, respect in general. So
Yes.
I overheard
I
a guy
mean-
talking today about how he just broken up with his girlfriend of 3 years, and he was already dating somebody new, and he had a friends with benefits lady on the side that was Snapchatting him, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I've heard some pretty, let's just say, treacherous stuff going from people who claim to be in relationships with like other people and the things that they just like openly admit to. I just shaking my head when I listen to like some of this stuff. It's like, you think this is something like to be proud of? That you're just like going around with like all these like different people and stuff like that. You're just highlighting exactly what's wrong with society on an emotional level as it is. But any final thoughts on this one before we move on?
I hope that they're investigated and they go bankrupt and they get shut down. So,
Yeah, I mean, they
this is-
chose to do this to themselves. I want, children to be protected to whatever extent possible, period. So they did not even try, and they deserve everything that they get and then some.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
poetic justice, please.
quick little shout out to Josh and Spencer in the chat who are arguing right now. Two guys who are always in the chat but never on the show. So just throwing that out there. We appreciate you guys for joining us tonight. So let's go over to something a little more lighthearted. We all remember G4, right?
What is it?
G4, the
Gaming
network
channel. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was if you don't know what G4 is, back in the early 2000s, Comcast started a network for gamers and had a lot of early content in the outlaw days of digital cable. And then they bought Tech TV, and they simultaneously ruined both networks at the same time. But the only two decent shows they had on their platforms was Attack of the Show, which was a subset for the Screensavers, which is a Tech TV show. And then you had X-Play, which is straight up a Tech TV show. The point I'm trying to make here is that Tech TV was better than G4 even back then. But they went under about a decade ago because no one watched it because there was nothing to watch on that network. So G4 was dead for a very, very long time. And then late last year, they decided, hey, let's bring back G4. We'll make it a YouTube and Twitch thing now, and it'll be successful. 3 weeks into the relaunch of this network, there was a feminist gamer named Frost, who decided that she was going to go on a rant about men.
Not a gamer.
Well,
Okay.
he said
Personality.
in all sense. So
She's just a feminist.
Yeah. Who decided she was going to go on a rant because apparently there were people out there that were dogging her out for her looks. And just looking at her in the picture that I'm going to show you in a second, I believe it. I mean, I'm not going to say that this didn't happen, but apparently she was upset because she wasn't viewed as fondly as Olivia Munn was or Morgan Webb was. So she went and basically burned her bridge with the entire G4 audience. And while Adam Susser, who said some really off the wall shit over the last few years, who's still on the network, clapped like a seal as Frost went on this big sexist rant, viewership absolutely died. People were like, I didn't even know G4 was even back, but now that I know that all you guys are a part of it, I'm definitely not going to watch. So their whole thing went down in flames pretty quickly. Now, they've stayed silent over the last few months because I guess they didn't want to make it seem like a CM Punk situation, that they were punishing people directly for the events that took place. But now a lot of changes are happening with this company and G4. So let's talk about this little article here. G4's post-Frost rant woes continue as network president Russell R. jumped shifts, leaving the position after less than a year. So now we're starting to see the corporate turnover inside of G4 because everyone knows inside that this thing is going down in flames. It never really got off the map to begin with. It never really jumped off at that point, but her rant against the fan base definitely didn't help things. So as we said earlier this year, is that a real picture? Jesus Christ! I thought that was like someone mocking her.
She a
Like-
ghoul? Like, is she an undead ghoul?
I'm not lying. Like when I saw that picture, I was thinking to myself, "Is that someone like mocking her on the show? That can't really be what she looks like." But no, that's it's
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she's a lesbian, so we tomboys do not claim this bitch. Thank you.
okay. Yeah, no wonder people didn't compare you to Olivia Munn. So yeah, the president left the network last year, and then apparently somebody pointed out that now that that the president is gone, they finally removed that rant off of their YouTube and Twitch channel. I think it was their YouTube channel actually, because they had it up there like for a while, so people could like go back and like watch it. And there was a lot of negative comments. It got downvoted to hell. They finally removed it after all this time. So I think that's like a subtle admission of, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that. So yeah, per the exclusive from Deadline, Aaron's made from the escape hatch sometime through July through the surrounding her exit. The reasons for doing so is unclear. I think she was just jumping ship. I think we all know that this whole thing is dead for the most part. But yeah, this happened officially 9 months after the relaunch of this network, which only, like I said, they only went live like towards the end of December. And then she went on this rant like 3 weeks into like the month of January. It was like, what are you doing? Keep in mind, this is a network, if you don't remember, that got canceled due to low viewership. Kevin Ferreira, who I believe is still associated with the reboot right now, back in, I want to say 2009, 2010, there was a plea when they were going to get pulled from Dish Network, that Dish Network straight up told them that we're going to get rid of this because we don't see the value in G4. That was what was said like 13 years ago.
Wow.
So you had a network that they didn't see the value in then because no one watched it, and you're going to burn bridges with your audience right out of the gate on a project that you desperately need viewers to actually watch and invest in this stuff. It's like, who thought that this was like a good idea? So yeah, there's just corporate turnover, and then everyone's pointing the blame at this person right here. I don't know where the pronouns are, so I'm just going to call it a person. For basically the downfall of G4 once again. Blair Herter, who back in or earlier this year left the platform of G4. He was the guy who actually, I believe, was involved directly with like getting a lot of the talent to come back to G4. Like he was involved with a lot of the production side. And as soon as that whole thing went down, he left shortly afterwards. He was one of the guys that was saying that if you didn't like what she said, that maybe G4 isn't for you. And then, like I said, he ended up walking out the door soon afterwards too. So yeah, the numbers that they're doing on social media are just abysmal. They lost thousands of subscribers after that rant. Keep in mind, on the YouTube, that's like a dead channel. Like a lot of those subs were people who were probably subscribed to them back in like 2011 who just never unsubscribed. So their active fan base wasn't very big to begin with, and their numbers just continued to went down. There's Adam Sessler, who said that he wants the Republican members of his own family to die. So that's
nice.
definitely a guy who you want to bring back as the face of your network. So yeah, this whole thing, it's just been going down in flames. You can blame the personalities associated with it now. I don't know if you guys have very fond memories of G4, because I'll admit I used to watch G4 a lot back in the day, but like I said, I was more of a Tech TV fan back then. But for you guys that either vaguely remember G4 or just heard about what happened with Frost, what are your thoughts on G4 finally admitting that they fucked up 9 months later?
I mean, they're not directly admitting it. They should be apologizing. They should be apologizing for not just on accord of the individual. I don't know. What the fuck is her name? She calls herself like Foreskin or some shit like that. Like, how retarded are you? I just lit that bitch up in one of my YouTube videos back in the day when I was like 40 pounds heavier too. So it's crazy how fast like time has gone since like basically her little rant. But yeah, that G4 coming back was not like good to begin with. Like it was very rocky, and basically her doing what she did instantly put them on life support. Like instantaneously. I never seen like a network die so fast. But yeah, they really are. And it's just like Obviously they brought back Adam Sessler because he's old guard. I get that, but you guys should have brought back Morgan Webb instead. Morgan Webb was definitely the better one of the two.
Morgan Webb, you could have brought back Kirsten Adams. I know that they tried to bring back Olivia Munn, but I mean, let's be honest, it's not like her career is really taking off right now, so it wouldn't be
she
the
would have
worst
asked for
thing.
too much.
Yeah,
She definitely. She's too Hollywood now. You already could tell that like, is she worth it? Not necessarily, but she would have over asked.
I heard that apparently I heard she's apparently doing like another Walking Dead spinoff in the future, which is like, well, that's a far cry from I guess X-Men Apocalypse. So.
And look, maybe, I was a teenager, when when I was like watching G4, and like it was one of those bonus channels you would get like in one of the more premium cable packages. It was like, oh hey, we'll throw G4, this random video game channel in. It was like, oh, okay, it's cool. But yeah, you'd watch it, here and there. But no, I mean, I genuinely had a really big crush on Olivia Munn. I'm sure a lot of guys did, but and she had some sense of like a personality, and like she was fun, however, and again, maybe I'm just was under the spell of being a teenager, but the point
she was
is
willing
just
to
like,
put herself out there. That's why people liked her, because she was willing to be goofy as shit
and make fun of herself. And and when she at a certain point in Hollywood, she just became like, oh, I'm above this now, and again, maybe it was when her looks started going or whatever, but I mean, she's not unattractive. It's just like, it's Hollywood, and
at least not her face.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm just I can't say
personality. Maybe another
that Predator movie that she was in was god awful.
Yeah, and she torpedoed it too by exposing that there was a sexual predator working on the thing like the week of the movie came out. Like maybe come out that a little bit earlier, not during the promotional tour. I do want to say this because Spencer said that he likes Kevin Ferreira. I used to like Kevin Ferreira too, but let me say this. If you don't like Adam Sessler and the things that he said over the course of the last few years, Kevin Ferreira has said a lot of the same stuff. The only difference is that when G4 relaunched, Kevin Ferreira actually deleted a lot of those tweets because he knew that they were going to come back and bite him in the ass, where Adam Sessler just completely doubled down and tripled down on everything that he said. So that's why he still gets as much heat as Kevin. But Kevin's not that far off from Adam and the stuff that he believes. I'm just throwing that out there.
The thing is with G4, at this point, the format that existed is outdated. Nobody wants this whole like corporatized people talking about video games. I'm sorry, they just look like a bunch of cornballs to me. Foreskin, whatever the fuck, MG Karen. This is what I like to have called her back then. Like, she's just one of the many cornballs on the show. And, if you can't be raunchy or just, I don't know, like, you have to appeal to the fact that gaming is juvenile. It's a juvenile hobby. Yeah. And it's the place where, kids can get on and talk shit. Adults can get on and talk shit while we're playing fucking video games. It's juvenile. When I play video games, I don't want to act like an adult. I just want to be an absolute piece of shit, or just talk shit with my friends and have fun shooting someone in the face. Like, and just not taking it seriously. That's the entire point of video games. When I'm playing video games, I don't want to have to think about my adult life. So if you can't be juvenile, if you can't get with the times, if you can't be entertaining to your audience, if you have absolute disdain for your audience, there's no reason for G4 to exist. And clearly they do not like the audience they are pandering to. So move the fuck on. It's over. Pack it up.
And I just want to say real quick, because I like to hear what Johnson has to say, but I'm just like, I get so frustrated that like all of this stuff, whether it's movies or video games, where it's like this sort of like, well, you have to be kind, and this is how we want our video game community to look, where it's like where politics and ideology has seeped into every fabric of society, and even like these social networks and video games and whatever. It's like they make for inherently boring content, and they, whether it's movies or video games or whatever, they're not interesting. These people aren't interesting. They just want to parrot talking points that I guess they feel make them a better person, virtue signaling. And I just like, how do you not have more of a personality than that? Don't you want to like blow shit up? Don't you want to have fun when you're playing video games? Don't you, and there's all kinds of gamers, but it's so infuriating to constantly hit the same kind of thing time and again, regardless of if it's movies, video games, music, TV shows.
Oh, well, and I agree with that. It's so hard to escape politics. Like, you can't just have fun anymore. Like, I remember when Cards Against Humanity came out, and everybody thought they were hilarious because it was like all tongue in cheek, and now you can't even play that without like, I don't know, someone trying to swat you or something. So, but
No, I mean, yeah.
yeah, I agree with Rob, and for what it's worth, I never watched G4 that I willingly like know that I would turn to it for stuff. So I'm getting it confused in my head with the network that used to like they would air the Ninja Warrior show.
Yeah.
I think they would.
So maybe
I think they had
I
Ninja
did
Warriors
watch
on
that.
Yeah, they actually Ninja Warrior. They showed like the Japanese version on G4, then they did their own version, and that was kind of like the only thing that was actually anyone ever watched. So they just moved that from G4 to like NBC proper. So they're both owned by the same parent company, and that's how you end up getting that.
Okay, well, so I did watch it as a kid, but I will say like if they really wanted to bring it back, they should have had a better plan. I think they'd try to just reboot the old stuff. Like when you guys mentioned about like it's how it's like a very juvenile holiday or not holiday, habit gaming. Hobby, yeah. The mom brain starting to weaken. Sorry, but it's like you do that. You get Michael Bay to come on as like an executive producer. You got the hot women over here. You got the nerdy guys that just know everything. You get these. It would just be so much better if if you could appeal to your audience. And like I said, I don't know much about this Frost Clady or whatever. I think I remember some of the news and just about how it was like this anti-male rant or something. And it's like I feel like a lot of people just have trouble accepting themselves as who they are. In general, like you have to be somebody that does does all the right things and looks the right way and says all the right things, and that's part of virtue signaling. So even if you don't look the right way, you can at least say the right things. Like nobody's gonna date Seth Rogen because he looks good. I'm sorry. So, but he says all these nice virtuous signaling sort of things. So I'm sure that helps. And
I don't know. I don't want to pretend like I'm, because I'm not like some stand-up comedian who's being edgy, but it feels so good to say the wrong thing. Do you know what I mean? Like this sort of Victorian era, like pearl clutching by you. I can't believe you said that. This makes you this. It's like the old religious, like how they used to condemn people for not doing what they wanted in society. It's like that. And again, I have a biased view of it, certainly in a historical lens, but it's like, it's that kind, it's a social religion with these people. And it's just like, I would just rather be an outcast. I'd rather be alone than be a part of like a group like that, where it's like, we all think the same things and say the same things. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which by the way, is my favorite horror movie of all time, 1978. It's perfect. It's a perfect metaphor for like the dumbing down of society and just everyone becoming a fucking pod person.
Yeah, I want to answer this question real quick before we wrap up this segment. I think Neo's asking us, do you think G4 should not have been revived or renewed? Not because of the obviously political reasons. So basically, he says, do they think that they should have brought back G4 in the first place? Here's the problem, and Cassie kind of said it earlier. It's like, everything that made G4 good, like in the early 2000s and like the mid 2000s, is like, it's kind of outdated now in today's platform, because we have outlets like Twitch, we have outlets like YouTube now. So it's like, yeah, it was great to get like video game reviews where there wasn't a lot of outlets where you could get video game reviews, but we have that now. The Attack of the Show thing, which is basically just like a rip-off late night show. We don't really need any more dumb late night shows that aren't funny, because we have too many of those now too, right? So then outside of that, like a lot of the stuff that they used to do, like, the arena, that's been taken over with esports. You don't really need arena anymore. Cheats. There are no cheat codes in video games anymore. You don't need a show like Cheats. Cinematech, they post all of the trailers to video games on YouTube now. You don't need like a lot of stuff has just been, you don't really like need that platform like anymore. A lot of stuff that they used to do. So unless you're going to do something kind of new and fresh that you hadn't already done before, there really isn't no need to bring back G4, especially considering the fact that 13 years ago, no one watched it then. So, yeah, you got to look at that too.
Yeah. Their only difference is now they blatantly despise their audience. It's just, we hate you, but we want you to watch what we have to say. And it's just, it doesn't work like that, you morons.
Yeah.
Fucking stop it. Stop wasting everyone's time. Or continue to act like a fool and I can just clown you and garner an audience that way. Thank you. It's all these people do is give food to the people that they hate. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's pretty much exactly like what it is. So yeah, I don't see this whole endeavor lasting another few months. To me, this feels like when MTV a few years ago tried to reboot TRL, and it was like, who's going to watch this? Because everyone who used to watch TRL is like 40 now, and they're not going to watch it now. And then the people who were too young to even remember TRL 20 years ago aren't going to watch it now. So who are you making this for? So it's like, I don't know who this new G4 is supposed to be for. Maybe it's just for people who couldn't survive a Modern Warfare 2 lobby back in the day. So they need a safe space in the game. I don't know. Like,
they're going to move to NFTs like GameStop has to try and preserve what little they have left.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck with that. No, I'll just put it that way. But we'll move over to our next topic here. Billy Eichner really wants you to go watch this new movie about gay rom-com, because it's the first one ever in like 100 years. There's never been a gay rom-com in the history of cinema until this movie. So please go out and watch it right now. Billy Eichner wants you to go watch his rom-com that's unironically came out during a monkeypox outbreak. If you were listening to Culture Casino show this Sunday, or if you were listening to Yelling with Parked Cars Monday night, there were a lot of photos from this movie that I probably can't show on this stream that involved this film, but they definitely stayed true to form, and there was a lot of gay orgy scenes in this movie. So that's what you can look forward to with this rom-com. But as we saw earlier, no one's watching anything that's not Top Gun Maverick, but Billy Eichner really wants you to go see this film. So he went to the MTV Video Music Awards, which, yes, the MTV Video Music Awards is still a thing. Even though they haven't showed music on MTV in like 20, 25 years, they still have a Video Music Award. And he pleaded with the audience to go watch this movie. He said that Bros is making history as the first rom-com ever made by a major studio, and with the first where every role is played by an openly LGBTQ character. He pitched to the crowd, desperately hoping that he can get their money in a couple of weeks. Then he went on to attack Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, because I guess you have to do that in order to promote your film. Or I guess now that abortion has been sent back to the States, they're worried that gay marriage is going to get popped next. So he went out and said that I need you all in the theaters on September 30th because we need to show the homophobes like Clarence Thomas and all the other homophobes in the Supreme Court that we want gay love stories. We want LGBTQ people, and we're not going to let them drag us back to the last century because they're in the past. Bros is the future. Are you with me, VMAs? I don't know if he got any applause from that. That's just a transaction that I had here. But yeah, so this movie, every character is being played by someone who's gay, trans, or lesbian, or something, whatever the little rainbow clique is. They're being played by this movie. But keep in mind, if you're a straight character, you're not allowed to play a gay character because that's not allowed. You can't do that. But gay people can play straight people in a movie, apparently. So, yeah. And then Billy's actually gotten a lot of kickback about this whole thing, about this film being the first gay rom-com ever by a major studio, because apparently there was some gay rom-com that like Hulu presented maybe like a year or two ago that had like an Asian gay guy as the lead role, and Billy kind of unironically threw his movie under the bus because he's trying to make it seem like that this is the most special movie ever made. So there was some infighting within the community about that.
A couple of years ago, what was it? Love, Simon came out, which was a gay high schooler, like romantic comedy. Oh, it wasn't a romantic comedy. I guess it was more like a teen drama, but it's the same kind of thing. You know, it's supposed to be like, you know, something that's, you know, showing an awkward high schooler being accepted and you know, whatever.
Wasn't there a movie? Maybe somebody out there can remember. Wasn't there a movie a couple of years ago that was like nominated for Oscars? It was a controversial one too because it was about basically like older dude who was in a relationship with someone who was like,
your name.
Call Me by Your
Call
Name.
Me by Your Name. Yeah,
Yep.
okay, yeah. That one came out a few years ago, and I was getting like Oscar nominations and stuff like that. It's like. So this idea that Billy's trying to present to everyone that this is the first one of its kind movie that's ever been made. He's been really upset that Hollywood hasn't done a movie like this before in 100 years. He really wants you to know that this is the first one that he's done, but he also wants you to know that some of the sex scenes in this movie are going to be eye-opening for audiences because there's part of me that realized that this would be sort of eye-opening for certain people in the audience, and I love that. It's like, great, let's surprise people. Let's shock people. Sacha Baron Cohen doesn't have to worry about that. Why should I? So, yeah, Bros movie that is coming out about gay romantic hookups during a monkeypox outbreak is coming out in theaters September the 30th. I'm pretty sure myself and Rob are going to love this movie when it comes out. But what do you think of Billy Eichner selling his movie? What do you rate his skills as a salesman? That's the first gay rom-com in 100 years to ever been made ever. Do you want to go see this movie?
No. And I feel like I'm going to have to because we're going to cover it. So all I can say is at least, you know, my money isn't going directly to that movie. It's going to like the Regal monthly charge for the, you know, unlimited pass. So whatever. But yeah, I don't want to see this. I grew up with this kind of raunchy comedy too. Like, I'm not against even kind of on the nose, you know, stereotypical comedy, but you're basically tokenizing your own sexual orientation and making yourselves into gay mascots. You know, and it's not furthering any conversation. It's not doing anything new. It's somehow it's groundbreaking to be like every other Peter Farrelly Brothers, Judd Apatow, you know, gross out comedy. And it's like, so what do you try? Like, you want to have your cake and eat it too. You want it to be special and a historical moment, but you also want it to be like every other comedy because you want it to be funny and appreciated and loved for, you know, just being a funny comedy, not a gay comedy. And this is why tokenism just never works, because when you're trying to like, when you stuff all this shit down people's throats, it's like you're foregoing the story. You're foregoing why you're telling a story to an audience. And so it's just, it's going to be a piece of shit, but.
Well, hold on. Before I let the other Cassie and Johnson go on this one, let me ask you a question, Rob. It's like, why does he have to tokenize his own gay sexuality in order to sell this movie? Ask yourself this question. If he didn't do that, why else would you go see a Billy Eichner movie?
I would. I almost didn't watch the last few seasons of Parks and Rec because his character, Craig, was so annoying. Yeah. The way he would do that whole like yelling, that overly the melodramatic yelling, where he's like, are you a theater kid who didn't, you know, go any further, you know, in college or whatever? But it was just like, it was just terrible. And so I personally have always found him grating and annoying. And the fact that he's now can get a movie of his made, it's like, okay, this movies don't mean anything anymore. Okay, thanks Hollywood.
I will say this is Neo says, "Oh, wait till the critics say that you're a homophobe for not liking this movie." Here's a little secret. I don't think even they like Billy Eichner, so I don't think that those articles that you see for like Amazon's Rings of Power and A League of Your Own are really going to come out for Billy Eichner, because I think even they recognize he's a giant bag of douche. So,
yeah,
Cassie, Johnson, you guys got any thoughts on this one?
These people just are so self-obsessed that they want so badly to feel like they're modern day Martin Luther King or something else. You guys will never hold a candle to actual people that had something important to do or to say. You have nothing important to do or to say. You're just shitting away a giant corporation's money. You don't have the help of like all these other countries to make money on this movie. You could have at least tried to sell it in a somewhat, inclusive way instead of divisive way. These people talk about inclusivity so much.
Yeah.
All they seem to want to do is be divisive as fuck. That's all they care about. And it's just like, you're pointless. Like, in the grand scheme of things, what you have nothing of value to offer here. It's just, well, you want to feel important, so you're gonna have your little fucking soapbox, and you're going to push a film that is bound to fail, and then you're gonna cry that you're a fucking victim at the end. Meanwhile, you've been funded to make something, and you decided wholeheartedly to make a piece of shit. Congratulations.
Yep. Johnson, any thoughts about this one?
I didn't know who Billy Eichner was, but now that you said Parks and Rec, I'm like, oh my gosh, no.
Yeah, that guy.
Yep. Okay. I don't know. I feel like his character was kind of shoehorned into the show because they didn't have enough representation for the the alphabet community at that point. So
yeah,
it makes sense that they would give him a movie to do this, I guess, in some kind of tragic comedy sort of way.
Yeah. Hopefully they didn't give him a lot of money because they're not going to get it back.
Well, I do think it's kind of ironically funny, like, haha, it's monkeypox.
And there's literally a scene in the movie with a gay orgy, which is also hilarious to me with that context known.
Let's put it like this, like, if there's a market for movies like this, go ahead and, I guess indulge in it. I don't think a lot of parents are going to take their kids to see this, obviously. I don't think a lot of people would be genuinely interested in it in general. And like, when I try to explain this, I try to explain this in like procreation, you need a male and a female. That's pretty universal across, across like animals and societies and stuff. So, and people who are born, even if they are gay or lesbian or trans or whatever, the LGBTQ plus, I mean, they have parents. They were made with parents. So the heterosexual norm of rom-coms makes sense. It's a very universal thing because everybody has a reference point for it, and that's not going to be true for
everyone.
Yeah, that's not going to be true for anybody on if on the other side of it. I mean, I know gene splicing is a thing. I know surrogacy is a thing. I know adoption is a thing, but that's still not going to be the same. So when people say they should be treated the same, it's like, well, nobody should be denied their rights. Okay, but on a universal appeal level, the heterosexuals are going to win hands down just because you have a universal frame of reference for it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry.
Whatever audience this does appeal to is going to be very, very small. And yes, I agree. Tokenizing that and using it as your selling point is not a good thing because it's not.
Yeah.
It's not anything but that, and that's the same thing as my political views or my personality. Woohoo! And
I do want to point out that if you actually look at the synopsis of this film that's coming out, it's about a middle-aged podcaster who's trying to work with Hollywood about creating a gay rom-com movie. So it's like, so you just made a movie about yourself. Like, this is why you're promoting it so hard.
Yeah.
This movie's about you, but you want to pretend like this movie's about something much, much bigger when you're basically it's a self-insert movie that you got Judd Apatow to produce. That's really all it is.
Mary Sue. Good job.
Exactly. Just be honest and just stop lying to people. But I'll let Rob get the last word in before we move on to our closer.
You know what? Billy Eichner's gonna have his movie open. It's probably gonna make $25 or $30 million total. Not opening.
I was about to say,
and that's, I don't know what the budget was. I'm sure it's more than that. I'm sure it's like 50, 55. I don't know. Maybe it's not. But
dude, I can't see Universal pumping more than $20 million into this movie. But maybe that is even being too high.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
This could be another producer's sort of thing.
Yeah. I wish I had more to say on it, but I don't. And this
is there a springtime for Hitler, like show-stopping number at least?
Yep.
Yeah, something.
So yeah, gay rom-com movie coming out at the end of the year. Then the end of this month, excuse me.
I will say they had gay rom-coms way back in the 90s. Like,
there's never been a gay rom-com until this movie.
The Birdcage. The Birdcage is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Gay rom-coms never existed until Billy Eichner went to Judd Apatow Universal.
If you guys have not seen The Birdcage, you need to watch it. And I mean, the audience, everybody on this, it's fantastic.
Well, I mean, even like there was that famous movie about like Truman Capote, and then there was that movie with I want to say it was that Heather Locklear lookalike lady playing Aphrodite. That was kind of a gay rom-com in the 90s. I mean, like, yeah, this is disingenuous marketing.
Yeah,
those don't count because they had a little thing called subtlety in those stories. This one is right in your face. We haven't had an right in your face gay rom-com up until this point in 100 years. In 100 years.
Even like 50 Shades of Grey though is like, do you really want that kind of marketing in your face?
Yeah.
When I watch this movie at the end of this month, I'm gonna be the person in the theater that's gonna be laughing, but I'm gonna be laughing at like all the shit that I'm not supposed to be laughing at. And everyone's gonna think I'm a total psycho. This is going to be hilarious. It's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to it, by the way.
What's hilarious is it's probably not even gay people are going to come out and watch this movie. It's going to be these wine-drinking white moms that are going to watch this movie.
Amy Schumer fans.
Yeah,
pretty much.
All two of them.
Little shout out to Neo here, who's telling everyone to keep up the good work. They appreciate all the work that you guys put in. I appreciate all the work you guys put in as well. And for those of you guys who are watching us on YouTube now, I know we got a good group of people on YouTube. If you haven't hit the like button or subscribe, go ahead and do that so you can go see more of our stuff we have coming up in the future. But we have reached the part of our night where we are going to head towards our closer. And this is kind of the story that's been dominating the world of entertainment for the last couple of weeks now. This started with a story that we covered a couple of weeks back with Shia LaBeouf and Olivia Wilde about how she tried to throw him under the bus by saying that she fired him. He came back and said, no, you didn't. I left, and I have the receipts to prove it. Then that video came out about her throwing her own co-star under the bus. So there was a lot of things going on there. And now it's snowballed into a situation where now everyone just hates Olivia Wilde. And this blew up even harder over the weekend because she tried to win back some of that hatred by saying, hey, did you guys know that I made my antagonist in the movie based on Jordan Peterson? Did you guys know about this? So this is another article that we have cooking up at Bounding in the Comics. That'll be out very soon. But essentially, former Harvey Weinstein ally Olivia Wilde says that her "Don't Worry, Darling" villain is based on the insane Jordan Peterson. So, she went ahead and said that she based the villain of this film based on the insane pseudo-intellectual known as Jordan Peterson. You know, the guy that sounds like Kermit the Frog and has books telling people to clean their room and stuff like that. That complete psychopath. Yeah. So, in the upcoming feminist thriller, Don't Worry, Darling, which is all about how bad women had it in the 1950s, apparently, she said that the character that Chris Pine plays, Frank, is based on Peterson. She did an interview with Victory Project, and then she said that, we based that character on this insane man, Jordan Peterson, who is this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community, she explained. She went on to further bury him by saying that Peterson is widely respected among incels because he furthers the ideology that feminism is working against nature, that we must be put it back in its correct place. He said that Jordan Peterson is someone who legitimizes certain aspects of their movement because he's a former professor, he's an author, he wears a suit, so they feel like it's real philosophy that should be taken seriously. Just completely burying his own philosophy. Now, progressives apparently really hate Jordan Peterson because if you don't know about Jordan Peterson, he's basically a guy who talks against the ideals of intersectional feminism and gender ideology, and because that they absolutely despise him. They hate him so much. If you remember, Ta-Nehisi Coates, who did the not Superman, the Captain America series a while back ago, actually modeled the Red Skull based on Jordan Peterson's work. So he made Red Skull sound like Jordan Peterson because he's a Nazi villain. Get it? Jordan Peterson's a Nazi, so we're gonna make him talk like a Nazi in the comic books. And you wonder why Marvel Comics can't sell anything right now? This is why. So yeah, she went on to talk about how Jordan Peterson is an incel hero. Now, Peterson did respond to this. He kind of downplayed it for the most part. He basically just said that, well, if Chris Pine is playing me in the movie, I guess there's worse things to be insulted by. Kind of just playing up the point that it's like, yeah, I mean, Chris Pine's a pretty good looking dude, so if he's playing me in the film, I guess I'll take that over the other Hollywood propaganda that you get from a bunch of wokies in Hollywood. But he did take exception to being labeled as an incel king or incel god, whatever she said. And she said basically what he said is that Olivia Wilde's dismissal of these men by saying that they're unsuccessful in the dating market, which might have regarding in this context as a derogatory slur that compassionate progressives like herself claim to achieve. She basically calling her out for saying that you guys claim to be so passionate against people, yet you're really shitting on guys because they can't get women like you, like who would love a woman like Olivia Wilde in their life. So if you don't know exactly enough about Olivia Wilde, let's take you down memory lane. She is a very, very close friend of one Harvey Weinstein, who is now convicted rapist Harvey Weinstein. So congratulations to him. There's a allegation from like 2015 where a model who Harvey Weinstein was trying to sleep with said, "Hey, if you want to get into the Hollywood business, you should join me in my hotel. We'll have a 3-way with Olivia Wilde." And he would actually call her up during these meetings where he tried to hook up with models and stuff like that to prove that he actually knew Olivia Wilde. And who knows, they seemed pretty close in a lot of these pictures. Maybe he actually took her up on it and whatnot. But the thing with Olivia Wilde is that no one really likes her, and I'm going to get to exactly why no one likes her. But let's talk about the first part of this story, which is her going after Jordan Peterson. What do you guys think about her attacking Jordan Peterson as the king of the incels, or this incel god, as she said here, trying to win credibility back for herself?
This is just her trying to basically, label, make her movie relevant. She's basically saying, hey, look, this bad guy, he's just like Jordan Peterson, and it mirrors reality, and it makes it relevant to what's going on now. But it's just like, it's a very like lazy and shallow swipe at somebody who, like, let's just be honest, Jordan Peterson, all he talks about is like how to order your life and how to be more successful and how to, basically just trying to live a better life and be a better human being. I mean, there's nothing controversial about his, advice or philosophy. It's just putting order to your life. Olivia Wilde is very, like, as a director, is becoming more and more relevant as we go. And I mean, she always seemed like a femme fatale. You know what I mean? Like someone that she's in her younger years was very attractive, but you wouldn't want to get near because she looks like a killer. She looks like somebody that would kill you in your sleep. So, I don't know. She's always creeped me out. I for a time definitely thought she was an attractive woman. But yeah, she definitely gives me those vibes of being like a bit psycho.
Yeah. By the way, I just wanted to thank you guys, because Spencer was like literally yelling at me in the comments, and no one said to give me the heads up that I should have been reading the article. It was like there's 3 people there. And it's like I didn't hear a single peep, which is why I just kept going, because no one said, "Hey, maybe want to stop that." So that's my bad.
My bad. Oh fuck, my bad. Yeah.
Well, at least you don't have any boogers in your nose. So.
Yeah, this time.
Okay.
So,
well, yep.
I don't understand how websites like these work, if I'm completely honest.
There's a preview, probably. I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking.
Yeah, I mean, I could just pull up the other article that I used the sources, so we're not pulling up the one from Bounding in the Comics. It's not a big deal. But yeah, to just go on about the whole Jordan Peterson and Olivia Wilde thing, about how she basically made him the villain of the film, because that's just how insecure she is.
It's such a shame that people can't write good heroes today. So it makes sense that she would try to cast him as the hero. or I'm sorry, the villain, because I don't think that she'll have. I mean, like, isn't like the star of, like the plot line is like basically a woman going through some kind of midlife crisis that's not her fault or something.
It's Stepford Wives, you know, the patriarchy is keeping these women in their places because some big dark secret, you know, they're hiding from them in the mountain. That's all the men go to work to. I mean, basically, it's a Twilight Zone episode idea that's probably not very interesting in its execution. But hey, you know, I have to watch it first. But that's the general idea.
But why is Olivia Wilde trying to pretend that it wasn't a man that helped her get where she is?
Yeah.
And the hilarious thing is that she's burning it down all by herself. A man got you to your highest peak in your life, and you are pissing it away on your own accord. Congratulations, you clown. But I mean, Jordan Peterson, my brother likes him. I don't really know much about him other than he tells people to basically pick up after themselves, you know, like, and obviously a lot of modern day third wave feminists hate that idea. Oh my God, having to clean up after myself, after my own oopsies. Hell no, we can't have this dude spreading around spreading around this nonsense, you know. Just keep that shit over with the incels or whatever the fuck, you know. We don't clean up after ourselves here. I guess that means that incels are at least on a better track than feminists. That's sad to have to say, because I think incels are fucking weirdos. Like true incels are weirdos.
Yeah. I mean, like, I totally agree with that, though. It's like, would you rather be an incel or sleep around with crazy people?
Yeah, like, at least incels have like people telling them to start cleaning up after yourself, you know?
Well, I mean, like, when you want to make a life change, you stop doing the bad stuff. I mean, like, and they've kind of already done that, you know. That's good. You want to build up your life, then, like, so you stop doing the bad stuff, you start doing the good stuff. So you start building up a life that you can share with somebody, and when you find them, and I mean, yeah, not everybody gets somebody like that, you know, and a lot of people like tend to find each other while they're building lives together. I mean, that's how me and my husband met each other. We were at college, you know, and it's just a very like yeah. I feel I don't you know, I mean, yeah, there's a definite level where it probably gets creepy and stalkerish and stuff, like with OnlyFans simps and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, generally speaking, like, women love when men and women can work together in a way that's mutually beneficial, and that's across all strata and spectrums that you can think of. So, and I'm a happily married woman. I've been happily married for 14 years. So if you're going to believe someone, you better believe me.
So there's a second part to this, and it basically just goes on to show how nobody likes Olivia Wilde, even the people that are on this movie that she's trying to promote. So she's trying to win brownie points on social media by slamming Jordan Peterson in order to promote this movie, but her own co-star won't even talk to her. So this was a video from, I guess, a couple of days ago, or a story from a couple of days ago, where they had the premiere in France, which, by the way, Rob, you totally called this, by the way, how everyone who does a movie there gets like a 5-minute standing ovation. Oh, yeah. So it's like everyone was talking about, oh, Brendan Fraser got the standing ovation. So at the moment, then it's like literally everyone got a standing ovation, like at this movie, like someone got a standing ovation. Who was like, okay, they just give everyone like ovations.
It's very common, whether it's like Venice, Cannes, there's a few. It's the big five. It's Telluride, Toronto, and Sundance. They're all Hollywood industry film festivals, and they all do this 4, 5, 6 minute standing ovation. So, and when the movies come out, some of them are really good, but some of them are like, what the fuck were you clapping for?
Yeah. So, like I said, last week she tried to throw Shia LaBeouf under the bus. Shia LaBeouf came back at her by saying that, no, I have the receipts to show that I quit your project. You did not fire me over unprofessionalism. And keep in mind, she has not addressed that video up to that point as well. But there's also this thing going on where her co-star, Florence Pugh, is not talking to her at all, because there's a couple of reasons why people think that they're not talking. One is because Pugh is unhappy with the fact that Olivia Wilde was sleeping with her co-star in the film Harry Styles, which obviously was the reason why she left her relationship of like several years with Jason Sudeikis. Now, I actually thought that they were married. They were not married. They only had a couple of kids. But because of her relationship with Styles, that led to her getting served child custody papers live at CinemaCon earlier this year. So Florence is apparently upset that she even has to address like the allegations of her co-star's relationship with her director, which she's not happy with. And she's also not happy with the fact that, Wilde has been trying to, I guess, promote a lot of the love scenes in this film, which she doesn't want to talk about because she feels like the movie is more than just, her making out with Harry Styles. But like I said, when you have an inappropriate relationship with your director and your actor, things like that happen. So, and then, of course, you have the thing with Shia LaBeouf where, even though he left the project, there was rumors that maybe they didn't exactly get along and she wasn't very happy with obviously what she said, her throwing Miss Flo, as she called her, under the bus based on that whole thing. So when they actually did the screening of the film, they all showed up. But when they were getting their several minute standing ovation, Florence refused to even look at Olivia Wilde during the film. I think this was the video. It's a short video here. But yeah, she literally does everything in her power to avoid looking at Olivia Wilde whatsoever. Then she announced earlier this week that she is going to forego any promotional events regarding it because she does not want to be in the same room with Olivia Wilde where they haven't talked to each other and discussed the movie. So this whole thing is just like a complete mess from Olivia Wilde's side, where she's trying to keep this whole thing together because this is supposed to be a major release for Warner Brothers. They only have this and Black Adam left on the year, so this is a big movie in their ranks. But everyone hates the director of this movie, the co-star, the former co-star. Obviously, issues with her ex boyfriend. Now there's rumors that apparently Harry Styles and her have broken up. I don't know anything about that one, but if that's the case as well, that just goes to show you just the absolute hilarity behind this entire situation, that she's trying to portray herself to be this feminist icon, this feminist hero, and everything's falling apart at the seams for her. And by the way, the early reviews so far for this movie have not been good. I think it's gotten like a 39% on Rotten Tomatoes by critics. These are the people who are trying to prop her up by selling this feminist narrative. Even they're rejecting it. So final thoughts on just everyone hates Olivia Wilde and cannot stand this woman.
Well, she, it seems like, and again, I don't want to throw around baseless accusations, but again, It sounds like she slept around. It sounds like she was a huge bitch and thought that at a certain point she had enough power to wield it like a bitch. And, it's Hollywood. It's a power thing. It's, you're trying to constantly show yourself in the best way possible because she's an actress. She's an actor. And she so her thing is like, she has to play this game, but directors who are really good, guess what? They don't have to have any kind of public persona because their movies speak for themselves. You don't have to have drama or a hunky lead that helps. I mean, it's good to have like a star people want to see kind of thing, but it's just like Harry Styles is not it. And it just seems like she took a personal infatuation and let it run away from her. And this is somebody who I don't know why. This is Warner Brothers. God, Warner Brothers, stop sucking so much. Don't give this woman money. Give it to somebody who's going to do something with it. And it's going to be creative and interesting and something audiences want to see. I can't stress that enough, but
Well, keep in mind that was the old guard of Warner Brothers that gave her this money and this thing, not the new guard. So, but still. And look, we don't want to throw out, baseless accusations here either. We actually research all of our stuff. So here's a picture of Olivia Wilde with Harvey Weinstein, taken from years ago when they worked on the film Butter together. Then here's another photo of her with Harvey Weinstein. And then here's another photo of her with Harvey Weinstein at a Knicks game. That was an experience. And here's another photo of them together at a Knicks game.
Zoom out, please.
And there's another photo, and then here's a photo of her kissing Harvey Weinstein, or Harvey Weinstein kissing her. So, I mean, yeah, we don't want to just throw out baseless accusations with no evidence to back it up. So, I mean, we never do that.
It just all of these things that are coming out just shows how blatantly delusional the old guard at Warner Brothers is. Like, all this stuff just that they were planning is just one pile of shit, one enormous pile of shit. It just how delusional was the old guard. Like, it's like an abyss of garbage. It just keeps getting deeper and deeper.
I will say this. We've got a couple of questions in the chat. Is Olivia Wilde more hated than Brie Larson? I would say yes in real life, because I feel like Brie Larson is just kind of delusional, where Olivia Wilde is just purely insufferable as a person.
Yeah.
So I would say yes.
Yeah, as like a director, as a person that's moving in towards more of a power position, I think probably more people would hate her in real life just because of that. And because she obviously has problems with destructive behavior patterns and selfish sort of shallow endeavors, I mean, it says everybody hates Olivia Wilde, but my question is, did anybody really like her to begin with? With Brie Larson, my question is, are you even really like a real person? Because she really doesn't come across as anything but kind of snappy in a lot of her, like it's almost like that scene from like Men in Black, where the little alien is inside the guy's spine. Somebody in there feeding you answers.
I would say this: ask who's more hated, Olivia Wilde or Amber Heard. I would say this. I think Amber Heard, only because her dirtiness has been aired out in public, where Olivia Wilde's dirtiness is only kind of within the know. But if some of the stuff that people have alleged about Olivia Wilde went as public as it did against Amber Heard, I think more people might actually hate Olivia Wilde more as a person than they hate Amber Heard. But
the thing is with Amber Heard, though, she tried to destroy someone that people generally like. I didn't like Johnny Depp because he's a kind of like a anti-American asshole. Meanwhile, America kind of made him, but on the situation between him and Amber Heard is filth. She's a piece of shit.
I will say this. I was looking for pictures of Olivia Wilde, and I wasn't too shocked to find out that she is not 40 yet. She's 38 years old, and I thought she was way older than that. So
yeah,
that's also
she definitely looks 45.
Look at those red carpet photos. It looks like her face is melting off her bones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm not trying to be, ruthless about a woman's appearance who basically relies on it professionally or has. But it's just like, you're 38. Have you been doing some hard living?
Yeah. Have you been selling your soul? Is that what the problem is?
Who knows?
I mean, like, there's such a huge problem with drugs and alcohol in Hollywood. Like, I know people that have worked with them down here in Atlanta, and I mean, like, it's pretty wild, some of the stories I've heard. And,
yeah, it's insane.
Alcoholism is a latent sort of reaction too. Like, you can drink when you're young and it doesn't like affect you, but like when you're older, it really, like, all the damage that you did those past years, you can really tell.
Yeah, once your body loses its ability to fight off all the bullshit that you do to it, that's when stuff starts to break down.
Yeah, she has that Angelina Jolie look to her, like, except Angelina Jolie's in her 50s now. But I would say for her specifically, gaining some weight would probably help her look, because she just looks like she's severely.
She's always had Keira Knightley body.
If she gains weight, then she's not going to be attractive to the producers that she has to sleep with in order to get her own movie by Warner Brothers. So there's your catch-22.
She needs some fat on her face, because her features are too
extreme,
rough. Yeah, she's way too rigid. She needs some fat on her face. That and the fact that her face does look like it's melting off her cheekbones.
Yeah, like I said, the stories the stories behind the scene that I've heard about Olivia Wilde is that she's a person who, typical narcissist, only cares about herself and will run through you, backstab you, do anything she possibly can in order to strengthen her own career. That's what I've heard about Olivia Wilde as a person. So knowing that, it doesn't surprise me that she looks like a stressed out ghoul. It's just
Well, it doesn't surprise me either because she was so close with Harvey Weinstein. I think that she probably picked up a trick or two while she's in the way. And I mean, judging by the way that, Florence Pugh kind of like doesn't want to interact with her kind of gives me that idea.
Yeah.
Whereas like she probably had to, I mean, like, and I've heard stories about like how they manipulate children into doing certain scenes for child actors and how you cannot leave them alone like ever while you're on set with any of them, no matter what, doesn't matter, because they will suffer some kind of abuse or emotional manipulation or some probably illegal thing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a story not too long ago about, you remember the actress Liza Dushku, who was in like a whole bunch of like TV shows. She was on like Angel, True Calling,
She was in a clone thing
Dollhouse.
from Josh Whedon, right?
Yeah, that was Dollhouse.
Oh, okay.
And and she talked about how she was assaulted during the filming of the film True Lies back in '94. One of the stuntmen in the movie, when she was like 12 or 13 years old, somehow managed to talk her parents into getting her alone in a Miami hotel room where he was naked and allegedly molested her. And then that was the story that she reviewed a few years back. She also had another issue where she was on like a CBS show fairly recently where she got sexually harassed by the star of the show and got fired.
Yeah.
Yep. And then ended up settling for like almost $10 million with CBS. Now, as a result, it seems like they may have blacklisted her because of that, because she got that $10 million settlement, but she has not worked in any Hollywood production in like the last 5 or 6 years because of that. And she was a pretty active actress at the time as well. So, but that's the nature of the beast that you're in when you're talking about modern Hollywood and how they operate.
Well, if she was so close to Weinstein, I can see where she would get that kind of like, I mean, nobody cheers for the death of the old guard more than the people that assume they'll be taking their place.
Right. Yep. No, I was going to say real quick, Eliza Dushku is also in this pretty decent horror movie called Wrong Turn, which I think came out in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it was like 03 or 02.
Yeah, she was in a bunch of stuff.
Bring It On.
Yeah, she was in that film as well. Yeah, it was her and Kirsten Dunst. I remember she was in that film.
Yeah. Like
I said, she's been in a lot of stuff. Like her career, she can live very comfortably just off the residuals of all the shit that she's been in, like in the past. But Jay
and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah, exactly. The New Guy. There's a bunch of stuff that she's been in. So so that's pretty much just to wrap it up. Olivia Wilde, lying bitch, hateful bitch. No one really likes her. And she has a new movie coming out in a couple of weeks, which we'll be watching. So
after see it,
you'll be watching.
You know how bad it is.
No. Oh yeah, no. Like I said, I said The New Guy. It's like, who remembers that movie? So
I was gonna say the only other one I can think of other than that is that one with JD Qualls, and where he has like the blonde hair.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
So and I will say this too, like True Calling was a show that I believe got canceled after 2 seasons, and they kind of like axed it halfway during the second one. It was like her, I think Jason Priestley. It wasn't that bad of a show. Like it honestly was pretty decent, but I guess they just couldn't find the audience, and Fox axed it before it really had a chance to get any good.
Wasn't it? I almost want to say it came after. It was like they tried it right after X-Files, like left the air.
Yeah,
because it was about like, I don't know if it was paranormal, but she was like a medium and she could see shit, and I think that's what it was.
So she worked at like a morgue, and I think Zach Zalganafis was on the show too. But she worked at a morgue, and like a dead person would like say like help her, and she would have to like go back like later that day and prevent that person from dying. Yeah, based on like whatever the issue was. Like I said, it wasn't a bad show at all, but they never really gave it a chance. It was only around for like a season and a half. Yeah. So. All right, then. Well, we've reached the end of our show. We had a very good discussion tonight on a multitude of topics. I mean, we went all the way from pro wrestling to movies to video games at one point, and then we talked about monkeypox, and then we came back and we talked about the upcoming feminist thriller. So we went all around the world on this one. So I want to go ahead and give a quick little shout out to my cast here tonight who joined us. So I'm going to give everyone a chance to promote whatever you got coming up soon. We got some good stuff coming up soon. So let's start off with Johnson. I'm pretty sure has lots of books that she wants to tell everyone here about.
So just buy my books, It's not very hard. I write as C.S. Johnson. I have a Kickstarter coming up next month, so
Nice.
save your money for that if you're gonna buy something for me. But my latest book came out and it's doing pretty good. It's called White Privilege, and it's my Fat Girl series, which is a superhero satire where it's Homer Simpson meets Marvel meets Mean Girls. So that doesn't get you to buy it. I don't know what your problem is. You must be racist or something.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fat people
Sexist.
killing, fat people falling on terrorists. I'll buy it.
Yep, that's book one.
By the way,
Amazing.
just want to say shouts out to CS, who was a real person in the last name, and now it's become a feather again. So yeah.
Wow, I misread that.
Yep.
All right. Then. Well, let's go ahead and
Come
get the
find
well
me.
dressed. Let's go ahead and get the
Come find me
well
on
dressed
Twitter
man.
and YouTube and all that. Otherwise,
You done? You done?
yeah, I'm done.
Jesus.
Let's go
That's how we're
ahead and-
treated here. This is like what you call a sweatshop.
Yeah, like you guys. No, I'm CM Punk, and you guys like my Young Bucks and Kenny Omega right now. Just, but no, let's give.
I
Rob
love
a
you
chance.
guys.
We love you too,
Yes.
kind
Much
of.
love.
How's it going there, Rob? Where can they find more of you? I know you got some stuff coming up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm gonna have 2 reviews out this week because I need to, and I promised I would. So just check my Twitter this week. I will have those out very soon. And I'm also upgrading my podcasting equipment, so I'm not going to be using a piece of crap USB. Well, it's just a better USB mic, but I figured that's better than what I've been using. And I just want to thank all of you for being patient with me, because I know I've stepped on a few lines here and there, like every show, and I try not to, but I also try to get in and say what I want to say. So it's it's a balancing act, and I do my best. So thank you.
All right, and that YouTube channel will definitely be coming soon. We'll make sure of it. So,
Yes.
Yeah, even if Rob has to do it out of spite, just so people will stop asking him how to do it. All right, Cassie, where can they find you? Don't you have something coming up this week that you want to talk about?
Yes, I have a podcast, and some people seem to like the name of it. It is called Too Real for Feels, and the catchphrase is "We don't give a fuck about your feelings." Yes, that's how we start the show off. So, if you want to check that out, you can go on my YouTube. It's called Cold Classic Cage, and that will be Thursday. And there's going to be a lot of topics, and it's entertainment, mostly video games, but we do other shit too. We do other shit too. I like the Lil Wayne of hip hop right now. But yeah, Cold Classic Cage on YouTube, Cold Classic Cage on Twitch if you don't watch me play video games, and if you just want to talk shit with me, Cold Classic Cage on Twitter. Yay!
All right, then. Now this is the part where I let you guys know what I'm coming up with later this week. So tomorrow night on YouTube, if you like what you saw tonight, tomorrow night we'll be talking about the greatest Super Sentai series of all time, Die Ranger, 1993's Die Ranger. We'll be talking about that one tomorrow night. Oh, yeah. If you guys don't know what Super Sentai is, if you love Power Rangers but don't know the series that inspired it and birthed it, you definitely want to check out tomorrow night show. We got a lot of great content. We've got great God Dragons. We got Master Kaku. We have the White Tiger Ranger. We're going to be talking about
Master
all
Cock.
that stuff. Master Cock, no.
That's what it sounds.
Master Kaku, damn it. You're going to respect the master's name.
Master Cock-a-doo-doo-doo.
Immediately after that show, we'll be talking about Bounding in the Comments. I don't know if Josh will be here, but Josh says that he's shouting out to Cassie's chat stream the other day. And then, so Bounding in the Comics tomorrow, we'll be talking about the news of the week. I'm pretty sure we'll be talking more about Amazon's Rings of Power. We're also going to be talking about She-Hulk and the twerking scene and all that good stuff. So go check that out tomorrow, Bounding in the Comments at about 9 p.m. So those 2 shows are coming out tomorrow. Monday, we're actually going to be doing another episode of the Monday Night Movie Review Club where we're talking about the very controversial 1986 film Soul Man. So if you guys haven't seen that one, go check out the trailer to that movie. That's going to be a very fun discussion we're going to have on Monday night. Then, of course, we'll be back here next week for episode 15 of the Barroom Podcast. So I wanted to go ahead and give a shout out to everyone who joined us in the chat tonight. There may have been way too many people here to give all of your names out there, but obviously Duke Nukem joined us. Dozing Z joined us earlier tonight. Our good friend who we're just going to call Nebishin. We can't pronounce your name, but we appreciate that you were here. You just know that we're the guy that butchered your name on this show, so you're going to be very special for us. Top Dog joined us earlier tonight. Spencer, Josh was all in chat with us. Neozic was also with us, so I just want to give a shout out to everyone that joined us. If there's anyone who I missed in between there, shout out to you too. This is probably, I think, our largest audience that we've had so far, and we're at episode 14. So hopefully we'll grow some more next week for episode 15 of the Barroom Podcast. Yeah, like I said, you know we're talking about you, bro. So don't worry, we definitely know who you are. We'll put it that way. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and sign off here. We will see you tomorrow, 7:00 for the Super Sentai discussion, and then 9 p.m. Bounding in the Comics for the Black Pill stream. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hopefully, you guys can like and subscribe on the video to see more of us coming up. And we will see you tomorrow night, most of you guys, and then next week for the Barroom Podcast. Good night. Let's go ahead and hit the intro that we all know Josh is going to say in the chat. Spring Yard. Goodbye.